serial killer exhibition. We're going to talk with someone about people's fascination with serial killers and how it led to a new exhibition about all of them, including local serial killer John Wayne Gacy. We're actually also going to be talking with someone who is on the floor at San Diego Comic-Con, a pop culture expert who is not only on the floor, he is checking out all the panels, and he's actually even hosting a couple of panels out at Comic-Con as well. If you didn't know, San Diego Comic-Con, over 135,000 people expected to descend upon the city and check out everything to do with pop culture. Usually major pop culture announcements come out of the next couple of days. It's a Thursday to Sunday kind of thing, so they're very much in the thick of it right now. It's just after 11 a.m. there, which means Comic-Con has officially kicked off, and we're going to talk with our friend Brandon Davis about all of that. But first and foremost, we got to get serious for a second, because if you have been in the market for a house lately, there's a good chance that some of the recent numbers were not what you wanted to see. We're going to talk with Bankrate housing market analyst Jeff Ostrowski. Jeff, good to see you. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Hey, good to see you. And I feel like the broccoli that everyone has to consume before they can get to the ice cream.
No, listen, it's very valuable to eat your broccoli, man. And maybe if I had eaten more, maybe I would have been taller than 5'9 3/4. So listen, it's important to have this. Listen, let's talk about this. We've got some more data coming out yesterday, and some of these numbers are really not what people want to see if they're going to be in the market for a house in the near future. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's correct. So I assume you're referring to Freddie Mac's weekly mortgage rate survey. Bankrate's weekly mortgage rate survey came out Wednesday afternoon. We showed mortgage rates up to 6.6% for a 30-year fixed nationally. That's the highest point in 11 months. So yeah, definitely not the direction that everyone in the housing market was hoping that mortgage rates would go. I guess the one good part of that is that part of the thing that's holding mortgage rates up is actually good news, and that's that the job market and the economy are still doing well. The bad news is the thing that's really pushing up mortgage rates is the war in Iran, $100 a barrel oil prices. And so that's spiking inflation upward again, and that's nudging up mortgage rates.
So then is the flip side of that, if mortgage rates are going down, does that necessarily mean that that's indicative of things not going well, of the economy not doing well? Is it sort of a weird catch-22 there?
Yeah, it's hard to generalize, but I would say that everyone thinks back to the 3% mortgage rates during the pandemic as the good old days. The reality is mortgage rates were at historic lows because the world was coming to an end. There was a global pandemic, there were travel bans, people couldn't go to work, you couldn't go to the store without a mask. The economy just ground to a halt there briefly back in 2020. Unemployment shot up into double digits. So the reason that mortgage rates went so low was because everything was going very badly in the economy. And then on the other hand, mortgage rates shot from 3% all the way up to 8% briefly a few years ago. And that was because everything was looking good. The pandemic was over, the vaccines were effective, people were going back to work, wages were climbing, things were doing really well, going really well in the US economy and the global economy. So it is definitely one of those careful what you wish for scenarios. Generally, plunging mortgage rates mean bad news, rising mortgage rates mean good news. But in the past few years, we've been sort of in this uneven, uncertain territory where it's like the economy is doing pretty well, and it's sort of fits and starts. We haven't had a recession yet since the pandemic, but one might be coming, maybe. And so it's not as cut and dried now as it might be in in an economic situation where the picture is very clear, very clearly up or very clearly net down. For the past few years, things have just been kind of bouncing along sideways.
So to your point, if there's someone out there that says, well, I've seen it at 3%, I know it can get down to 3%, I know that that's entirely possible, and they're waiting on that, is it fair to say, listen, you might be waiting for a while, or you're waiting on basically another really horrible thing to happen, like another pandemic? If you're waiting on a 3%, are you waiting on a thing that more than likely isn't happening anytime soon?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So mortgage rates had been artificially low from September 11th of 2001 uh, through the pandemic. Mortgage rates were in the 4%, 5% range, sometimes sub 4%. And that was unusually low, and there was just a lot of weird stuff happening there. There had been the September 11th terror attacks, there was the Great Recession, there were just a number of reasons for mortgage rates to be sort of artificially low. And then when they hit 3%, everyone has locked in on that as a benchmark, as a harbinger. But really, it's very unlikely that any borrower is going to see a 3% mortgage rate again anytime soon, unless things just go horribly wrong.
You mentioned so much of this being tied to oil prices and what's going on in the Middle East, and we had an expert on gas on yesterday, and basically he said that there's no end in sight for the direction that oil prices are going in, and there's nothing that is indicating that it's going to get better anytime soon, unless we wake up magically one day and everything has been solved over there. So if oil prices are going to continue to be on the rise or continue to be at very high levels, does it stand to reason that mortgage prices will as well?
Yeah, although in this case it's all very much relative. So I alluded to that spike in mortgage rates from 3% all the way up to 8%. So early 2021 they were at 3%. By late 2023 they were at 8%. So it's intriguing to look back and just see how little mortgage rates have really moved over the past 6 months or so. So back in early 2026, before the Iran war began, mortgage rates were at 6.09%, according to Bankrate's survey. And there was the hope that mortgage rates were going to fall below 6%, but at any rate, the low in recent memory was 6.09. Right now they're at 6.6. So even with that big spike in oil prices, even with all this geopolitical uncertainty, it's a fairly modest move in mortgage rates. I mean, obviously, if you're a first-time buyer, you're squeezing to get in to something you can afford. 6.1 is better than 6.6, but it's just worth keeping in mind that this has not been a huge move. It's been a move not in favor of borrowers, but it hasn't really been enough to keep people entirely out of the market if you're just looking at the dollars and cents.
Whenever you talk to people, because we keep talking about sort of that above 6% and below, is 6% right now kind of that number that whether we're above or below indicates whether we're doing well or not doing well in terms of mortgage rates? Like, is the dream to get under 6%?
Well, I don't know if it's quite the dream. It's certainly the hope of some folks. I don't know. I think it's one of those artificial and overplayed thresholds. So, I mean, the difference between a 5.9% mortgage rate and a 6.1% mortgage rate just really isn't that much in terms of the monthly housing budgets of most Americans. But for whatever reason, it's just an important psychological threshold. I know Rocket Mortgage has said when mortgage rates fall below 6%, they see a big jump in consumer interest in mortgage applications or inquiries. So I mean, it's not a meaningful difference, but it just really it is a good illustration of consumer psychology, borrower psychology. I mean, for the same reason that retailers price things at $1.99 instead of $2, 5 point something just seems better than 6 something.
If someone doesn't have a choice and they're in a position right now where they say, listen, I got to buy a house. Doesn't matter whether it's 6.6, doesn't matter if it's 5.8, doesn't matter if it's 12%. I got to buy a house. What sort of position or what would you say to them right now?
Yeah. There's that question, which I think is kind of nonsensical. Is this a good time to buy or a bad time to buy? The reality is, if you just had twins and you're in a 1-bedroom apartment, you need to buy no matter what's happening in the broader economy. So I would say that the real important thing is, if you're a buyer, don't try to time mortgage rates. You're probably not going to succeed. Instead, just make sure you're financially and emotionally prepared to buy. When you do buy, and if you need a mortgage, make sure you shop around. There can be big swings in the offers you get from one lender to the next. So make sure you get at least 3 offers before you commit to a mortgage. But yes, I would say that this recent run up in mortgage rates over the past few months, it shouldn't really deter you or dissuade you from buying.
And one of the constant pieces of advice that I've seen from experts such as yourself, and it sounds like, of course, common sense piece of advice, but I feel like these days it's that common sense can run short, is shopping within your means. You know what your household income is, and if your household income doesn't match a $2.3 million home, then don't buy the $2.3 million home and then try to find a way to make it work. I mean, how often do you have to tell people, listen, if you got to buy a house, buy the house, but buy the house you can afford?
Correct. And there are some guardrails built into that in the mortgage underwriting system. So just the debt to income ratios and some of these other requirements mean that if you're making $100,000 a year, you're not going to qualify for that $2.3 million home. But you might qualify for a bigger mortgage than you can really comfortably afford. So yes, definitely keep that in mind. There's definitely something to be said for living within your means, for buying a home that you can comfortably afford. If you've got some money left over, use that for your retirement savings, use it to build an emergency savings account, and try not to fall into that trap of devoting every spare penny to your housing costs.
Fair enough. And what does this mean if you're about to put your house on the market? For sellers out there, how does this affect them?
Well, that's a very interesting question. In Chicago, it's a good time to sell, and it has been an unusually good time to sell. If you were in Texas or Florida, it would be a different answer. Many parts of the Sun Belt have slowed a lot, and it's either a buyer's market or a balanced market. Still a seller's market in Chicago and in some other metro areas in the Midwest and the Northeast. So if you're a seller in Chicago, you're in pretty good shape. You should be able to sell quickly and for close to what you think the house is worth. That's not the case everywhere in the country, but that certainly is the case in Chicago. The one wild card there has been what's called the mortgage lock-in effect. So a lot of American homeowners just have not been selling because they locked in 3% mortgage rates during the pandemic. They don't want to give up their 3% mortgage rate if it means they have to go out and take a mortgage for 6.5% on the next place they buy.
So it's funny you bring that up, because whenever I was doing a little research in advance of this interview, I kept seeing a term called the lock-in trap. Would you say that's, I mean, the fact that they're using the word trap, I thought that was sort of interesting. Why do you think it would be referred to as such?
Well, it's just sort of an unusual, I guess maybe a bit of fallout from the pandemic that no one really expected. And then as soon as that phenomenon unfolded, it became obvious that this was going to be one of the results of the pandemic hangover. But yeah, the lock-in effect just is this reality that so many people were able to either buy when rates were at 3%, or if they already owned their home, they refied into a rate at 3%. And that's a big disincentive to move. So, typically Americans that own their homes 5 to 7 years, that's really lengthening now. A lot of people who otherwise would be moving up, moving down, doing some sort of a transaction are saying, hey, maybe I would like a bigger house or a smaller house, but I just am in love with my mortgage rate and I'm not going to give it up. And so that's really skewed the housing market over the past few years. The housing economists and real estate insiders have used the phrase housing recession, and that just refers to the very tepid number of home sales that have been happening over the past few years.
Well, it sort of sounds like you're saying, listen, if you locked in at 3 or 4% back during COVID, good for you, well done. But if you're starting to get that 7-year itch and you are looking for a new house, it's an unrealistic expectation to assume that you're going to get the same rate in the middle of a global pandemic than you're going to get at a moment where, as you say, like the economy is doing well.
Yep, correct. And things are very much different. One interesting trend that has emerged in the past few years is a lot of people are buying homes with no mortgage at all. So close to a third of transactions right now are happening with all cash, and that's according to the National Association of Realtors. And that's just because there are a lot of people who amassed quite a bit of housing equity during this boom in the past few years. They're selling their house. They've got enough cash from the proceeds of that sale to pay cash for their next place, or they've got plenty of stock market gains. In either case, there certainly are buyers who are opting not to take a mortgage at all, just because 6.5% doesn't sound like a good deal once they've become accustomed to 3%. But yeah, just a lot of strange and unexpected results of the pandemic that are still playing out in the housing market.
And likely, I'd imagine, will continue to play out. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, things don't seem likely to change. So as I mentioned, mortgage rates are above 6.5%. Consensus is they're going to stay around 6.5% for the rest of 2026. So it's just hard to see any meaningful shift or meaningful change in direction in the housing market in the next 6 months to a year.
So if you're, like you said, as it boils down to, listen, if you got to buy a house, you got to buy a house. And if you're waiting on that 3 or 4%, you can be waiting a long time.
That's right.
All right, my friend. I appreciate you, Jeff Ostrowski, bank rate housing market analyst. Is there a good source of information you'd want to point people toward if they want to learn a little bit more?
Well, on bankrate.com, you can shop for mortgage. You can read about the housing market and the mortgage process. So come check out our site. And I don't want to talk too much longer. I know you got pickleball, serial killers, and Comic-Con.
It's a wide collection of things on Chicago Live today. Jeff, this is very. I know you think you're the broccoli, but you are not the broccoli. At worst, you're the broccoli with cheese on top, my friend. I appreciate
all right,
you.
That's the nicest thing anyone has said to me all day.
Jeff, we appreciate you, my man. We'll talk with you soon, all right?
All right, take care.
Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be all right. We'll be right back. Back 120 on Chicago Live. So this is a story that really originates just a couple of blocks from where we're sitting right now. The Art Institute of Chicago is facing backlash for their decision to outsource their custodial staff. Union workers are demanding that the museum is to abandon their plans to shift 23 custodial workers to a private contractor. We're going to bring in two guests. We have Vicente Robinson, who is a museum employee, as well as an elected member of the Art Institute of Chicago Workers United. And we're also going to bring in Ben Conboy, who's the communications director of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 31. Thank you both for joining me. I appreciate you.
Happy to be here.
Can you just tell us, first of all, can you tell us how everyone was informed that the Art Institute had made this decision?
Well, I can speak to the announcement made to staff on June 29th, right around 5 p.m. We were sent an email, both as a union and as the custodial staff members were informed about the decision to outsource the work of the custodial staff to GDI, the contractor.
And that would mean, because of the going toward the contractor, that 23 custodial workers would no longer be employed by the Art Institute. Did they say anything in regards to what those 23 workers could do?
There wasn't really any sort of plan for recompense. The museum position basically is that the staff have the opportunity to be employed by the contractor, and that they are working to maintain the level of benefits from the employer to the current employer of AIC to the contractor. So that is sort of the path that was laid out, and plainly they were just told to apply.
So what?
Yeah, if I can just add to that. Oh, I'm very sorry, but the workers have not been guaranteed a job at this new contractor, despite what the Art Institute wants to make it sound like. These workers have to reapply for the jobs that they already have, and in doing so, and in moving over to this new contractor, could lose a lot of the benefits and rights that they currently have.
So what is the timeline that I know right now the goal is to get the Art Institute to sort of abandon this plan to move over to the contractor? How much time until a decision has to be made one way or the other?
So the museum has given the employees who are currently on the custodial team a deadline of August 1st to apply for employment with the contractor. And their set plan at the moment is for an August 14th end employment date with AIC, and then on August 15th, the GDI would begin the work with their contractors.
Right now, obviously, the plan, I'd imagine, union workers demanding that the Art Institute abandon the plan to do this. Have conversations been had? Does it seem like the Art Institute is open to having any kind of a conversation with you guys?
Look, we're working to find any solution possible to this that keeps the custodians employed where they belong as Art Institute employees and not as employees of some outside for-profit contractor. Our union has filed a grievance over management's violation of a term in our contract, which requires them to give our union 30 days notice in advance of a decision to contract out work being made. In this case, they gave us 30 days notice from the date that would be implemented, essentially from the date that the workers would be terminated. And so we filed a grievance over that, and we're hoping to find any solution possible and keeps these workers where they belong.
Do most museums in Chicago employ union workers for their custodial staff?
I can tell you for sure that every major cultural institution, museum, the employees are represented by AFSCME. And a couple of those museums, I know for the Field Museum is one that does have custodial workers on staff represented by our union.
Is there a fear that if the Art Institute moves forward with employing this private contractor, that other museums would follow suit?
Look, I mean, if these custodians and custodial workers, wherever they are, should be employees of the institution that they work for. They should not be contracted out. No work should be contracted out. If you work for a museum like the Art Institute, that you should work for that museum. There is no reason to to push these employees outside and try to turn them into try to turn them into contractors.
And from our perspective, from AIC Wu, the museum has shared that all of the employees would all be under SEIU as employees of GDI, and we respect the work of SEIU, and we're glad that they would have union representation with this new employer. But the fact of the matter is that these custodial employees helped us fight to win this contract and to win a union for AIC employees, and they should remain a part of that bargaining unit.
You mentioned at the beginning of our conversation something that the Art Institute had said. We do have a statement from the Art Institute, and so I do just want to read it and then we'll get your response to that. So the statement from the Art Institute goes as follows. The Art Institute deeply values our employees, and we are grateful for the important work our custodial team does every day. We made the decision to shift our custodial services to a contractor model to better support daily museum operations, and we prioritized choosing a partner that would commit to offering employment to our custodial staff. Each member of our team will have the opportunity to join our custodial partner after completing their employment screening process. So to that statement, gentlemen, you would say what?
Well, I would say to the first part of that statement, which in which the Art Institute says that I believe you said they value their employees. I've never heard of an employer who shows their employees that they're valued by terminating them and forcing their jobs elsewhere. That is a strange way to show value, and I would say that yeah.
And to the institution and the work that's carried out by the employees there every day, we know for a fact that all of us value the work of the custodial employees, but a big part of that is also respecting their wishes. And from the personal statements we've been gathering from custodians, a lot of them don't want to leave the employer that they've known, especially some for more than 20 years.
And so is the hope that now everyone can come to the table and conversations can begin? Is that what we're hoping this moves toward?
I mean, certainly we're hoping that conversations can begin, where we can actually sit down and talk about this and find a solution that works for everybody, but particularly for the custodians.
Yeah, as of right now, we've just established our first bargaining meeting this coming Thursday. And we are looking forward to the opportunity to speak to the needs of our custodial staff, but we hold our position strongly.
Gentlemen, we appreciate your time. This is a topic that I'd imagine is going to continue, and we'd love to have you back when new developments occur. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, Chicago Live rolls on just about 1:29. We'll be right back. Welcome back. 131 on Chicago Live. The sport of pickleball has exploded in a way that I don't know if I've ever seen another sport explode this way. I've had the chance to check out the APP tour whenever they have come out to Chicago, and let me tell you, it is something electric. I did some live shots with them for Good Day Chicago, and it's a lot of fun to be had, and it's coming back to Chicago next month, August 6th through the 9th. The APP tour returns to the city of Chicago, and we're going to talk with the APP Chief Marketing Officer, Tom Webb. Tom, thank you for joining me, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I got to tell you, man, whenever I was out there a few years back, whenever you guys were here, it was just an electric vibe. I've never seen a sport explode the way that pickleball has. Were you at all surprised by the rise and just increased insane popularity in this sport?
I've never been surprised by its popularity, and let me tell you why. 76% of all people who play pickleball say that the reason that they do so is because they have fun playing the sport. So at its very heart is a positive vibe. People play this sport with a big smile on their face. It's incredibly social. It's a great workout, and it's a really good way of hanging out with friends and making new friends. And at the top of the game, as you see on the APP tour, you have these elite pros who really set the kind of standard for how the sport can be played at an incredibly elite level. So it's a sport that fuels positivity. And I think in this day and age, with everything that everybody has to put up with and all the stresses and strains of modern life, being able to do something where you get fit and healthy and you do it with a smile on your face, I think that's a really positive thing. And it's probably the reason why the sport has continued to explode in such popularity.
Now, listen, by no means am I saying, I could be out there with the best of the best and I could be on the APP tour, but there is something about pickleball that just feels accessible. I mean, whenever I watch the Cubs or the Sox, I'm not thinking I could get up to plate and hit it out of the park. Whenever I'm watching the Bears, no one looks at me and thinks that's a guy that can run 70 yards to the end zone, but there's something about pickleball that sort of makes me feel like maybe I could do that, and it feels like more people feel like they have the ability to play themselves.
You know what? You're right at one level. You're right in the sense that it's a game that is very easy to pick up, but it's incredibly hard to master. So again, one of the reasons I think why people are flocking to the sport is because anybody of kind of any age, any background can pick up a paddle, hit that ball across the net, and pretty soon they're playing a game and getting involved in a rally and being able to kind of put the ball where they want it to go on the other side of the court. And they do that, as I said earlier, with a big smile on their face. So it's accessible, but once you want to get really good, once you really start to get competitive and you grow your rating and you start to think, hey, I could go somewhere in this sport, that's when you find out just how hard these guys are working at the very top of the game. We're very privileged to have the best players in the world competing on the APP tour. And when you see the fitness levels that they have, the concentration levels, the reaction times, all of the things that go into making an elite level athlete at the very top of their game, whatever sport it is, you know that these guys really are superhuman. So it is accessible. It kind of looks like it's something that's easy for anybody to do, but try playing those guys at the top of the sport and you find out just how tough it really can be.
Tom, that was the nicest way anyone has ever told me, Jake, you don't have what it takes.
I would never say that. Not to your face, anyway.
Not on live television. We never would. Is it true that this tour has its roots in the city of Chicago?
It is not only true, we're very, very proud of the fact that the APP Tour was born in Chicago. Our founder, Ken Herman, started the APP Tour back in 2019. He was the first person to really kind of put his money where his mouth is and set up a pro and amateur tour, and we've been going from strength to strength ever since. So whenever we come back to Chicago, it's a return home for us. You said at the top of this call that we're in Highland Park from the 6th to the 9th of August. We're actually kicking off with an amazing event on the 5th of August at Highland Park, at Danny Cuniff Park, with a first of its kind pro invitational. And if anybody really wants to come and see the very best players in the world competing at the highest level, come out from 6 p.m. on the Wednesday evening and you'll see just how great this sport can be, especially in our home of Chicago. And then from Thursday through Sunday, we're going to be featuring pros and amateurs across all the courts in Highland Park. in 4 days of incredible action that will culminate with our gold medal matches on Sunday. So we're very, very proud to call Chicago home. We always look forward to returning. We get great support here. So if you're going to come out, please make sure you get your tickets from the app.global/Chicago as quickly as you can. And we look forward to welcoming the thousands of people that are going to be coming out to watch everything that's happening.
And Tom, I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of professional athletes being accessible to people, particularly accessible to kids that want to go up and maybe get an autograph or get a photo. And I mentioned, you and I have met before, and I've been out to the tour before. And one thing I noticed is a lot of these players talk to the people that come out and watch. They talk to the fans of the sport. They talk to the new fans of the sport. I saw them taking selfies. I saw them signing things. Is that something that was important to you guys, to have that accessibility between the players and the fans? Or do you feel like that's just a quality of the person who plays this professionally?
I think both of your questions are actually correct. I mean, the answers to both of them is it is incredibly important to us that we maintain a real sense of kind of openness and accessibility. Inclusivity is an important word for pickleball. It is a sport that includes everybody. And we've always worked very hard to make sure that is part and parcel of the way our events run. But then I think by the very nature of pickleball events, you have people who want to share this very social, very positively driven sport. And I think that means that the pros themselves want to be accessible to people. As the sport becomes more and more popular, and as there are more demands on the time of the pros, it is possible that accessibility starts to drop a little bit, but we're always going to work very hard to make sure that the people at the top of the game who inspire the next generation and who kind of set the standards for how the sport can be played are able to spend as much time as they want to, and that the fans want to spend with them. So we'll always work very hard on that.
For someone who has never played pickleball before, or they've heard about it, their friends play it, but they've never actually seen it played before, this could be a great way to just jump into the deep end of the pool and come see the best of the best. I mean, if you're going to start out, if you're going to watch a first match, if you're going to watch a first basketball game, why not go see Michael Jordan? Start at the top. If someone's never actually come out before, is this a good sort of entry point for them into the sport?
This is the perfect entry point into the sport, because what you're going to see is players of all ages and levels, from very first-time players right up to the best pros in the world. And so what you will see is people that look like you playing.
Wait, what does that mean, Tom? What does that mean, people that look like me? What are you trying to say, Tom?
Listen, nobody has got hair as good as you, so I don't think there'll be anybody
Okay, fine,
there.
We'll have you back on the show, fine.
What I mean really is it is a sport that embraces everybody. It doesn't matter where you're from, how old you are, from very young to very old. So I think that what people will find is that they are walking into an incredibly welcoming atmosphere, one that is fueled by fun and smiles, but with this real sense of competition. And one of the things that I most enjoy about the pro level of the game is you can drop in on any match, whether it's on our famed championship court or whether it's on one of the outside courts. You can drop in at any time and you're going to be taken up by the action immediately. A lot of fans have their favorite players, but a lot of people just like watching the sport to see really good athleticism on show. So it doesn't matter whether you've ever heard of or seen or played pickleball before. You're going to come out to something where there's a good vibe. And if somebody said to you, let's go and spend some time this afternoon in a place surrounded by people with smiles on their faces, you'd probably think that's a pretty good way of spending an afternoon.
It's a great way of spending an afternoon. I'm fascinated to hear that the sport is now being played around the world. In addition to here in the States, you guys are being played across Europe, Asia, Australia. It's the tour is now going through Africa, South America. It sounds like the sport has almost become a universal language around the world by this point.
I love this conversation because even as a British person by birth, I'm very, very proud to be part of a sport that was born in America, which America is now giving the world. I spoke to some people a while ago about a saying that I heard, which maybe has slightly negative connotations, but I think is an interesting take on it, which is there's this saying, when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. In this case, it's a very positive thing because a sport that was born in Washington State back in the 1960s, wholly owned and grown in America, is now being picked up by hundreds of millions of people worldwide. So the explosive growth of the sport in countries, as you say, across Asia, South America, Europe, Africa, Australasia, it is now being played everywhere. And why? Why? Because it is a positive force. That is the thing that unites everybody who plays. It's easily accessible. You can get quite good quite quickly, and you have a good time playing it. So America has truly given the world a sport that is being picked up by millions of people, and it is one that is here to stay. So I think America should be very proud that it has given the world such a positive force in the world of sport.
I love that. I want to circle back around to the beginning of our conversation, because you'd mentioned that you are not surprised at the rise of popularity of this sport. I'm fascinated to hear that it began in the 1960s, because, like I said, I started hearing about it, I feel like during COVID, like around COVID, like during the pandemic, I started hearing of people starting to play it and people sort of drawing courts in their driveway as an excuse to get out and do something physical. Is there a reason why, even though it began in the 60s, it's just within the last, I don't know, let's call it 10 years or so, that it really sort of, did something happen in the last 10 years that really made it explode in a way that it hadn't seen up to that point?
Well, you said it. COVID is, I think, really what gave it that kind of rocket fuel to explode. I think there was decent popularity of the sport up until that 2021, when we all started getting affected by what was going on. But I think lockdown forced everybody inside. It meant that we were all having to socially distance. If you like running, you could still go running. Like you could, I used to go running around where I live with a mask on. That was getting kind of boring quite quickly. But I think with pickleball, what people found is that word spread that you could go and be socially distanced, but still have fun doing some healthy exercise with people, outdoor and then indoor when that started being possible. And I think that possibly also fueled by social media, because people were starting to share on their own Facebooks or Instagrams the experiences that they were having. A lot of people started being able to kind of cotton on to the fact that there was this new phenomenon, relatively new, because as I say, it had been there, but new phenomenon that was easy to find, easy to pick up, and easy to play. And I think it really was COVID that kind of fueled this growth. There was a feeling coming out of that. I think there were some people who were starting to say, well, it's going to be a fad. How long can this last? But I think you only have to look at the number of facilities that have now been set up across America and now increasingly internationally. You look at the growth in the industry in terms of paddle sales, in terms of specific equipment being made, the right type of footwear that Skechers make, for example. And you can see that the foundations are now very firmly set to sustain the long-term development and growth of the sport. So I think COVID probably was that kind of supercharge that it needed. Ironically, something as devastating as the COVID pandemic has given rise to something which is fueling health, well-being, and good times for an awful lot of people.
It's definitely a silver lining, to be sure. Tom, let's let people know one more time. You guys are coming out to Highland Park. It's starting on August 5th, and you guys are going to be here for a couple of days. Not only is it great to have it here in the city, but it's a homecoming in a way. And where can people get more information, and how much does it cost to come out and check it out?
Well, thank you very much for letting me say all this. It's the app.global/Chicago. If you want to go and follow us on socials, it's @officialapptour. And if you've got any interest in what we're going to be doing, you can follow everything on YouTube, where we'll be live streaming from Wednesday through Sunday. But I would urge you to come out and enjoy the fun, come out and take part and get involved in this amazing sport, which is something that I think people in Chicago should be very proud is coming home. You guys gave birth to this organization, which is leading the growth of pickleball worldwide, and we're very proud to be back home.
Listen, if anyone isn't able to make it, if they miss a flight or they get rained out or whatever, you can tap me in, my friend. I'm ready to go. All I got, give me some makeup wipes to take the makeup off, and I'll be good to go.
Keep the hair, please.
Yeah, always. That's all I have going for me, Tom. All right, my friend. Good to see you. We'll talk again soon, and welcome back to Chicago, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care. Chicago Live rolls on just about 1:46. We'll be right back. welcome back. Just about 1:52 on Chicago Live. We've got a lot of really interesting guests coming up in the next hour of the show. We're going to be talking with someone about the not one, not two, but three different airports that are looking to ditch TSA and instead go toward more of a private security firm. And here's what's interesting about that. I can tell you, whenever was it earlier this year when TSA were dealing with everything that they were having to deal with because of the government shutdown, and people were struggling to make their flights just because TSA workers were having to handle a lot without being paid at that time. I remember I was flying through San Francisco and easily breezed through security at that time, and I asked someone, how is it that this airport is operating so fluidly when every other airport in the country is looking at an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour wait times at TSA? And they said that they had a private security at that airport. So it could be really interesting. 3 airports are planning to ditch TSA and potentially start getting into private security. Could that mean more start to look into that? So that is going to be a really interesting conversation coming up in the next hour. Also, a serial killer exhibition in Chicago. A lot of people have a lot of thoughts about this, whether it's the true crime podcast or the Netflix series that follow any particular serial killer. People's fascination with serial killers and their stories, it's nothing new, but it does continue to yield very interesting conversations about what it is about these stories, about these people that continue to fascinate people, and what are the moral implications of making a profit off of an exhibition, or making a profit off of a documentary, or making a profit off of a Netflix series, or what have you. It's a conversation that continues to evolve as these things continue to be popular. So we're going to talk with an author and a forensic specialist and expert in capital punishment and death row, 20 years of experience in psychology and forensic science. We're going to talk with him about this new serial killer exhibition. It's going to be a fascinating conversation. And then there is a new 18-minute long short film, and it is called Sawyer Avenue Sunday Afternoon. It's a short documentary film, 18 minutes, uses bystander cell phone video and federal body-worn camera footage to reconstruct, to detail an immigration arrest in Chicago where masked federal agents detained a man without a warrant. So we're going to talk with the director of that film, as well as someone from Invisible Institute, and that is a nonprofit journalism production company on the south side of Chicago. So that's obviously a story that has very local ties to us here in the city of Chicago. Also, we're going to be chatting with our man JD. He's going to be coming up to tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the weather over the next couple of days. And I know that there are a lot of people that are going to be coming into town just in about a week or so. Looking forward to hopefully a cool, crisp, potentially dry Lollapalooza. I know we've seen lots of Lollapaloozas. As I look straight ahead to Millennium Park, and then even a little bit further, Grant Park, where Lollapalooza is going to take place. So I know a lot of people are hoping for some good weather, so maybe we can get a little bit. I know it's harder to get further than a week out in terms of a forecast, but hopefully we can get a little bit of a preview of what we can expect and what we can expect over the next couple of days here into the weekend. So lots to come here over the next couple of hours here on Chicago Live. Some really fascinating conversations. We also got a really great guy named Brandon Davis, a guy who I've known for years. He is actually on the floor at San Diego Comic-Con right now, the 4-day festival. If you're unfamiliar, San Diego Comic-Con brings in more than 135,000 fans of movies and TV and comics and superheroes. It is pop culture nerdvana, but it's also very much ground zero for major pop culture announcements, whenever you have that kind of an audience, whenever you have 135,000 people who are there, who are the audience that you're trying to reach, that's a lot of times, a lot of moments that movie studios and TV studios will drop brand new trailers or bring out a big celebrity to announce that they're playing a certain character, and that's kind of where all of the news drops. So there's going to be a lot of entertainment headlines that are going to be dropping over the next couple of days coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, and we got a guy on the ground, boots on the ground, who is popping around to all the different panels. He's going to be there listening. He's going to be some of the first people to hear what some of the news are coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, and he's actually even moderating a couple of the panels as well. He's the host of the Brandon Davis Show. He's a great entertainment reporter. I've known him for many years. I'm a big fan of his work, so we're going to be talking with him coming up a little bit later in the show on Chicago Live. But we are just about to roll into the 2 o'clock hour. Like I said, all of that and much, much more coming up over the next couple of hours. You don't want to miss it. But for now, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Welcome back. Just after 2 o'clock on Chicago Live. Like I said, a lot of amazing guests coming up over the next hour, and I'm very excited about this conversation because it's something that I've seen the effects of in real time. I've seen it up close and personal whenever I was flying through SFO. 3 airports are planning to ditch TSA amid a push for private security. We're going to bring in travel expert Clint Henderson to talk a little bit about that. Clint, are you with us?
I am with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Clint. It's good to see you, my friend. Listen, this is a fascinating conversation, and I was just saying before the break, I got to see it in real time whenever the TSA, they were dealing with all of their struggles earlier this year, and you know, they weren't getting paid, and they were having to show up without getting paid, and so a lot of the wait times were getting longer around the country. I flew, I had a connection through SFO in San Francisco, flew through security, asked some people around me, how is this possible? How are the wait times not an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? And they said they use private security. And I thought, that's very interesting. So can you just sort of explain what's happening right now and what this means for the bigger picture of airport travel?
Yeah, this was actually surprising to me too, especially an airport as large as San Francisco International, also Kansas City, Missouri. So basically, after 9/11, TSA came up with all these protocols for security, right? Well, they allowed this program that would allow select airports to have private security screening. And there's about 20 of those airports, a lot of them in Montana, actually, which is kind of unusual. But then they also let San Francisco and St. Louis do it. And so during the shutdown, we saw those extraordinary lines, and I was stuck in Atlanta in some of those lines. I have never seen anything like that in my life. So essentially, we all realized that there was these airports that had private security, and it was kind of a news flash. Well, fast forward, the federal government is now saying that they're going to expand this program. They call it TSA Gold, and you won't really see it on the passenger side so much, but they're going to let more airports opt into this private security screening with oversight from TSA. And so Tampa and Charleston are among those 3 airports that are going to get this. And apparently more airports are interested. So very interesting development here. But the truth is, 20 airports have been doing it for some time without issues. So hopefully there won't be too many issues with this.
When you talk about oversight from the TSA, like I mentioned, whenever I was flying through San Francisco during the government shutdown, it didn't seem like it had been affected at all by the government shutdown.
Yeah.
So does it stand to reason if we have, if more airports opt into this and we have another government shutdown in a year or so, that it won't have as much of a seismic impact on air travel as we saw a couple of months back?
Yeah, that is exactly the case, especially if more and larger airports opt into it. Right now, none of the other major hub airports, so where we really saw the problem, so New Orleans, Detroit, places like Atlanta and Chicago, where we saw these long lines, they have not opted into this new TSA Gold system yet. So if they do, then that could really help if there was another government shutdown. But for now, wherever these private security screeners are operating, that means there won't be long lines at those airports. So that could be potentially really good news depending on where you are in the country.
It stands to reason that, maybe someone like an airport like O'Hare hasn't necessarily opted in yet, but these major airports, they have to be watching some of these other airports that are opting in to kind of see what the benefits are, right? Like they've got to be sort of at least keeping their eye on them.
Yeah, and the fact is, San Francisco is one of the top-rated airports in the entire world. People love that airport. I love that airport. Security is usually pretty easy breezy there. I think the biggest objections you're going to have are from the TSA unions. Obviously, they don't want their employees to get laid off because there's now private screening at most airports. So we'll have to see how that plays out. They also raised some legitimate security concerns. The whole point of TSA was to protect us from another 9/11. So there are some security concerns, but the truth is, when you have airports like San Francisco that have been doing this for literally over a decade and everything's been fine, then it's sort of hard to argue with that.
So if any particular airport, if they switched over from TSA to sort of this private security, is it possible that the TSA employees would swing over to them, or are we talking about people potentially losing their jobs?
Well, I think there is a possibility of people losing their jobs if the private security companies don't hire those TSA workers and they hire outsiders. Potentially there could be layoffs, and so I think that's why the union is a little worried about this trend.
Anytime we hear sort of good news about, it would help security and it would put us in a better place if there's a government shutdown. My first initial question is, okay, well, what's the catch? There's got to be something maybe about this private security. That sounds like it could be a big one. That sounds like a pretty big catch. But you don't want to see anyone losing their jobs. Are there any other negative effects of an airport hiring a private security firm that might have a negative impact on travelers?
Look, the TSA is going to be overseeing these programs, so there could be some headbutting between the private security company and the TSA. We haven't seen a lot of that so far, so they seem to be working together well. But in the past, we have seen some periods when a private security screening company like Clear, which is at a lot of airports, has butted heads in the past with TSA. Those issues seem to have been resolved by now. But anytime there's a change, there's going to be people impacted, right? So I'm thinking particularly of clear lanes. You have to pay for that service. Now they have these electronic e-gates, and the TSA is going to start using those too. Well, guess what? If those biometric screenings and no human has to screen you, they're just scanning your face and opening a gate for you, then what happens to those employees? Now, Clear has told me in the past, look, those employees are not being laid off. They're going to turn into sort of ambassadors that can help passengers get through security, to guide them around. But I don't know how long that would last for. There's always a possibility of that.
And for anyone who says, listen, I went through, interview processes and background checks so that I could get TSA pre-check, and now they have touchless TSA pre-check. I mean, I feel like now, whenever you go through security in an airport, there are 15 different options depending on where you rank in the hierarchy of security. Does that, does a private security firm coming into an airport like O'Hare change all of that? Does it mean that my TSA pre-check status goes out the window?
No, everything stays the same as far as TSA pre-check lanes and clear lanes and regular lanes. So it has gotten more stratified, just like everything else in our society. But no changes. There should be no impact to you if you have TSA pre-check. And by the way, if you don't have global entry, global entry can be a real life changer if you're crossing international borders. I love having global entry because it includes TSA pre-check, and now with biometric screening, you can opt in at several huge airports, and you go in a separate line that's even shorter than TSA pre-check or clear. So I'm a big fan of those expedited security systems too. But does raise some privacy concerns. Do you want outside companies and the government scanning your face and your eyeballs every time you go through? For me, they know who I am anyway, so I'm not too worried about that, but some people will be.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, man. My phone scans my face every time I need to text my girlfriend back. So I'm
welcome
not,
to the future.
But you know what I don't want to do is wait in a 4-hour customs line on my flight back from Canada or something. So I totally get that. I don't mind that. That's a trade I'm willing to make. We talked off the top that SFO in San Francisco very much has been utilizing this for a while. Like I said, I saw it happen in real time. Are there, sorry if I missed this, are there other airports that had been using this for a while that they're looking around going, where you guys been? We've been doing this.
Yeah, Kansas City is the giant one. Kansas City, Missouri. That's a huge airport. But then there's all these smaller airports across the country. Interestingly, there's like 7 airports in Montana alone that do this. Now they're tiny airports like Kalispell, and even smaller airports. But yeah, this has been a thing for quite a while. So, but this is a new program. This is TSA Gold Plus. So this is a slightly different version of this private screening. So we'll have to see how this rolls out. And I'm interested to see if other airports like Chicago are pursuing this as well. But so far, the TSA is not telling us that. They're just saying there's more interested parties.
It's so interesting you bring up some of maybe the smaller airports in Montana. I flew through Tyler, Texas, and sort of the security was basically just 2 people being like, "All right, come on in." So I'm curious as to whether that was a private security or if that was actually TSA. I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. I am sort of curious as to the impact that this is going to have on sort of security moving forward. I mean, you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, we talked about, post 9/11, airport security changed in a way that we had not seen up to that point. Has it over 25 years, has it loosened up, would you say? Has everyone sort of obviously it's a different world than it was on September 12th. How has security changed over the last 25 years?
So the really interesting, the first shoe to drop, no pun intended, was you don't have to take your shoes off to go through security anymore. That's new. So that's happened very recently. And they're talking about getting rid of the liquids rule. So we're not there yet, but these new scanning machines, these giant they look like an alien spaceship or something. They're sort of round. These new machines can look through liquids. So there will come a point when these machines are everywhere where you don't have to take the liquids out of your bag. The restrictions on how much liquid you can take through security will change. So I do think that's coming down the road here before too long. And then what's really innovative is I think we're going to get to a point where you're walking through a giant gateway that just has cameras, and it knows who you are and lets you through if you've gotten a background check in the past. So I think that's the next big one. We're already seeing these e-gates at many airports that biometrically screen you, and so it'll be really interesting to see as these things develop.
But Clint, do you find that, you were talking about sort of, different rules when it comes to taking shoes off and liquids and everything. I feel like sometimes I'll go through security at LaGuardia, and they will require different things of me than the security folks at LAX versus, Bush in Houston. I mean, I feel like sometimes, even though a lot of these airports are all using TSA, the rules and the requirements almost feel different by the airport and by the city. Are you finding that at all?
So some of this depends on the particular agents you're dealing with, right? Who's more of a stickler than not. Sometimes that's just human nature, right? You have someone who's having a bad day or not is going to determine how many people they're screening. But also, they might have access to information that we don't have, like maybe there's an FBI bulletin that goes out to be on the lookout, and so you suddenly see a crackdown on security a bit at some of these airports. So, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to protect us that we're not fully aware of.
And before we let you go, I was sort of looking up some of the arguments that the TSA could potentially have against bringing in private security, and one of them is that private security firms motivated by profit could create competing incentives when passenger safety is on the line. Do you think bringing in any sort of a company in which profit is an aspect of their existence is something to be concerned about?
I do. I think that's something definitely to watch for. And, if the company's having a bad year, maybe they cut back on the number of agents. But I will say the TSA has done a really good job of overseeing these private security companies. And so there hasn't been a lot of issues. There was a period a couple of years ago when they felt Clear was not fully identifying passengers going through the clear lanes. And so there was a big crackdown for a while on that, but that's all been resolved now. So it is a concern. I think the TSA is going to make sure they're overseeing these folks pretty carefully.
You mentioned people potentially not being comfortable with the scanning of faces. I know we were talking about global entry, and whenever you go through global entry, if you're coming back from Canada or Italy or what have you, it scans your eyes, I believe. I mean, but it also, I think I took an international flight, and I think to board the flight, I think it had to scan my face. Do you think when it comes to the scanning of our eyes, scanning of our faces, that's just the future of air travel, and it might be a thing people have to get used to whether they like it or not?
I do, especially if you're planning on crossing borders. So now, if you're going to Europe, they're having huge trouble because they're rolling out these new biometric identification systems. So there's been really long lines there. Part of that is taking your fingerprints and a photograph. That's pretty standard operating procedure if you travel internationally. So we are going to have to get used to that. But I will tell folks who are really worried about this, you can ask not to be photographed by security. You can opt out, and then they just do a pat down, or they might give you a secondary screening that does not involve taking a picture of you. So there are privacy protections built in if you're really against that. But look, you're traveling, they are running a background check on you of some kind because you have to present ID. So it's not like they don't know who you are.
Clint, that's what I was going to ask. What do you need to fly on a plane? You need an ID. You need at least a driver's license, right? And what does a driver's license have? It has a government photo of you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really see what the...
And there's cameras everywhere, too.
Exactly
so
right.
It's hard. I think the scary thing is if we get a government that is run rampant over our rights and we're worried that they're using this technology against us. That's sort of dystopian thinking. Hopefully we never get to a place like that in this country. But I will tell you, in some countries, I won't necessarily name them, but this is how they police the state, is through cameras, biometric screening, photographs, apps. Like, they track every single thing you do there. So it is a possibility in this world.
It is a fascinating conversation. Really quick before we let you go, you mentioned, O'Hare, Midway, not necessarily opting into this private security right now. There's a good chance they're keeping an eye on some of the airports that are. Any kind of a timeline in terms of what, if you think that when and if some of the Chicago airports swap over? I mean, are we talking months? Are we talking years?
No, the government's being very tight-lipped about future potential airports, and so I wouldn't speculate on that at this point.
Fair enough. Clinton Henderson, where can people find more information if they're interested in this?
Yeah, so thepointsguy.com is our website. We cover all things travel, help you travel better, smarter. It's a great resource for folks.
Fantastic. Clint, we appreciate you. This was a great conversation. Thanks for your time, man.
Good to see you.
You too, buddy. All right, guys, Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Just about 2:19 on Chicago Live. There is a new exhibition coming to Chicago in a couple of days. Tickets go on sale next week, and it is surrounding the concept of serial killers. It is Serial Killer, the Original Exhibition World Tour. I'm looking through their website. It says, real artifacts, real monsters. Discover the world's largest collection of original artifacts belonging to serial killers. It says, look beyond the myth and discover how criminal profiling, forensic science, and historical research transformed our understanding of serial crime. And it says that it ranges from H.H. Holmes to John Wayne Gacy. Of course, both of those have deep, infamous Chicago connections to our city. So we're going to bring in Dr. Bill Kimberlin. He is an author, a forensics specialist, and an expert in capital punishment and death row. More than 20 years of experience in psychology and forensic sciences. Doctor, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate you. Doctor, I think you might be muted. Let's go ahead and get you unmuted just in case.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
thank
I can.
you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you. Listen, this is yielding a whole slew of questions that I have. And before I even begin, I will be the first to admit that I would be fascinated to check out something like this. I have watched plenty of true crime documentaries, and I have watched the Netflix series on Ed Gein. So I'm not trying to seem higher or mightier than anyone who wants to check out an exhibition about serial killers, because I would be in line to check it out. But whenever you hear about this exhibition of artifacts belonging to serial killers, I'd imagine that's something that fascinates you.
So it's odd because for myself, I actually study them and I interview them. I go to death row, I witness executions, I do all of that. So the items that they send me, they just get stored. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that there was such a huge, business out there that people really like to see this stuff. And when this exhibit was over in Europe, where it started in London, Paris, and Berlin, they came over here and debuted in Atlanta, they brought me on board. And before I had agreed, I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing anything to glorify or glamorize these serial killers. I'm more from the educational academia aspect of it and the studying. And I found out that that's exactly what this exhibit does. It's a lot about the educational aspect.
So what is the difference then? The argument against, a lot of the Netflix series and the true crime documentaries is that it doesn't pay enough attention to the victims and that it glorifies and almost gives a celebrity status to these serial killers. So whenever you were going in, what are the things that you were hoping it did not do, and what are the things that you were happy to see that it did?
So the first thing, I wanted to make sure that they didn't focus everything on these killers alone, where they were, like you said, glamorizing or glorifying them. And I wanted to see a lot of victimology. I wanted to see some forensics. I wanted to see the legal aspects, law enforcement, and they were able to accommodate a lot of that here when they brought into the U.S. So in Atlanta, same way it'll be in Chicago. The very last room that the visitors will go through is dedicated to nothing but victims alone, and we're actually expanding on the victims here in Chicago because of the Gacy's and the H.H. Holmes and the history behind it. So I was very excited to see that. When we were in Atlanta, I didn't want to see anything to deal with Wayne Williams because that's such a hot topic, and a lot of the family members are still there, and there's a lot of debate around that. So we kept that out of the show. So it was they're very, very good at making sure that it doesn't just glamorize the killers.
This has been your field of work for a long time. It feels like, I know there's always been a fascination within pop culture when in regards to these real life serial killers. You talk about Zodiac or Ed Gein or what have you. When did you feel like you were noticing that there really was this sort of rabid fan base? Maybe that's the wrong word, but this fascination of people wanting to learn more. Has it been there for a long time, and we've only just seen it in the rise of social media and the rise of the internet and the rise of streaming? Or do you feel like the rise of those things has yielded an even deeper fascination into these people?
Personally, I think that the implementation of the podcasts out there, when they became very popular in this culture, I think that's when it really exploded. And some of the podcasters do a great job doing deep dives into this. I wish law enforcement would work with them a little bit more, but sometimes the egos get involved. But I think when those podcasts started taking off, that's when the entire true crime genre really kind of exploded.
I want to swing back around to this exhibition because it says that there are never before displayed original artifacts, including John Wayne Gacy's original paintings, authentic documents, and investigative evidence, hundreds of objects. Can you talk about some of the things that are displayed in this exhibition and just also where they came from?
So I probably have 300 or 400 pieces in there myself because I have so much of it. Mine came directly from the inmates themselves, and they send it to me all the time. I think I had like 5 packages this week alone. But I also have reached out. We have really good professionals. One that works with me close hand throughout this entire exhibit is John Borowski, who is a native to Chicago, great historian when it comes to H.H. Holmes, documentary filmmaker with the Gacy. And then a good friend of mine, Karen Conti, who represented for a portion of time John Gacy. He handed her some paintings as well. Then there's other people, professionals within the, I guess what you want to call the fascination artwork aspect of it. Ryan Graveface, who's a good friend and has a museum right there in Chicago. Jordan Cook. Together in this community, we got together and we wanted to make sure that we had authentic items and that the provenances were there, and it all came together. So Karen will be displaying 3 paintings that's never been seen before by Gacy herself. I have David Berkowitz working with me as we speak, developing his section of the exhibit as well. So hand in hand with some of these guys, the items come directly from the stuff that I have from, whether it's Scott Peterson or who's not a serial killer, but Robert Yates. The list goes on now. We have 150 different serial killers represented, but everything is brought in directly from the owners of the private collection, which is why it's the largest collection, mostly firsthand.
You mentioned Karen Conti. She wrote a book about Gacy, which was
absolutely,
which was a really fascinating read, which I had the chance to read not too long ago. That was a fascinating read. You said something interesting just now that I really want to follow up on. Did you say that the inmates send you these things
all the time?
What do you mean they send you these things? Why do they send you these things?
So I have over 3,000 pieces of art and items just in storage, because they. One thing that the killers never want to, their biggest fear is to be forgotten. So they like to say, there's a respect that I have with them, and they respect me. I don't buy anything. I don't sell anything. And so when I go in, I visit, I sit down, I eat with them, I drink with them, I interview them. I've had last meals with them. There's no handcuffs, no shackles. It's a relationship built on respect. I wouldn't say trust so much, but respect. They'll confess other crimes, things like that to me, and I'll work with law enforcement and move forward with that as that comes along. But yeah, they send stuff all the time.
Is the purpose of these relationships, as you say, to glean more information out of them?
For me, it is. So, I know nothing about art. My favorite museum happens to be the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. I go there a lot, but when they send me the art, I'm looking more at the packaging, how much they paid for the posting, how they wrapped it, what's in the contents, things like that. My wife is the one that takes care of all of organizing it and putting it away and doing whatever. I may take a picture or two and post it, but I never post their names or who did it, and then I never see it again. Can
you give an example of some of the serial killers that you may have had a close interaction with that people would know?
I guess Dennis Rader is one of them. I've gotten letters from Gary Ridgway, David Berkowitz I'm dealing with right now. He sent me 2 letters this week alone, along with the package. They all blend in because I deal with, Samuel Little was really close with me because of being from Ohio originally, and he reached out to me. Sean Great, Robert Yates. The list goes on and on. I couldn't even tell you how many I've dealt with over the years, or how many they'll call. Sometimes I'll get 10 phone calls a day, 15 emails on top of the letters.
What is that like to have just a normal everyday existence in which, on a normal basis, serial killers are calling you to chat?
It's for me, it's second nature. For my family, my kids, they grew up around it, so they could literally care less about any of this stuff. My wife gets fed up with it because sometimes they'll send art made out of blood, semen, you name it. You never know what to expect, and it just gets categorized and put away because I'm totally not into selling anything, and I certainly don't buy anything. So. It's just part of my research. I've written a couple books. I'll continue to do this research until my time is up with these inmates, and I still have other executions that I've been invited to go to.
What are the most important pieces of information you can pull from these items that they're sending you?
So a lot of times the paintings will have hidden messages in them, or perhaps locations. Carrie Stainer out in California, Charles Ng, Leonard Lake and them. I have a lot of their stuff, and they will hide messages within that artwork sometimes. And it's amazing to have people to look at it, because I'll hand it to people and say, see what you can find. And I'm telling you, people out there are really good at deep diving into certain things.
What are some of the messages that would be hidden in a painting, and how do they do that?
So, for instance, like Anthony Sowell, I was the first one to ever interview him, the Cleveland Strangler, on death row many times, and one of his paintings had 11 different. Most of his paintings would have 11, the number 11 of some sort of gravestone trees or whatever, and he had 11 victims. And he would sometimes put the names of each victim somewhere in the paintings, things like that.
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Just in the period of time in which we've been having this conversation, I've received text messages from people that say, I want to go see that exhibition. That exhibition sounds interesting. It also stands to reason that there will be people that say this exhibition shouldn't exist. That it's not a thing that we should. To those people, what do you say? I'm sure that has to be something that you hear more often than not.
I would tell those same individuals I felt the exact same way. That's why I did not get involved with this when it was over in Europe, because I was thinking that it was all fixated on the killers only. When I interviewed with the owners of the exhibit, and when they told me the background of it and I had some say into it, it was amazing how much you actually learn in the field of forensics, in psychology, the victimology, the psychology. People are going to walk in expecting one thing, and they're going to leave maybe with more questions than answers, but they're going to leave with a lot of knowledge. They're not going to go through this exhibit in 15, 20 minutes. It's going to take a couple hours. You're talking 40 plus rooms, 26,000 square feet, and it's interactive. I mean, there's tests they can take to determine their psychopathy, sociopathy, everything.
And there is a Chicago connection. Are you guys leaning more for this particular stop here in town, leaning more into the H.H. Holmes, leaning more into the John Wayne Gacy, because there is such a Chicago connection to those particular men?
Yes, because we want to also, pay close attention to the victims as well, and with the connections in Chicago, with the John Borowski's and the Karen Contis and the Ryan Graveface, they have the knowledge, they have the legal expertise, they have the history behind it all. So we want to encompass all of that to make sure that everybody learns as well as gets to see these objects up close and personal.
I know a lot of these objects come from your own archives, but was there one in the exhibition that maybe you hadn't seen before, maybe you'd never seen up close and personal, that had the biggest impact on you, being able to see it with your own eyes?
I nothing really fascinates me when it comes to the artifacts itself, because I've been around it so much. But when you walk up and you see John Wayne Gacy's typewriter that he used to type every letter, his TV that he watched every night, the paintings that he did, the Jeffrey Dahmer glasses, the Charles Manson guitar, all of those items. I mean, it's fascinating to sit there. The Richard Ramirez, his outfit. I have the uniform from I think the Craigslist killer there. I mean, it's overwhelming sometimes.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I want to make sure I'm getting this right. The exhibition opens in September, on September 5th. And it's in a couple of days that the tickets go on sale. I mentioned it. I think I said it opened in a couple of days. It doesn't. The tickets go on sale in a couple of days. It opens in September. Is it at CineSpace Film Studios?
Yes. I mean, that's how this exhibit is huge. It's 26,000 square feet of space that we utilize, and every bit of it will be utilized. We're coming in from Pullman Yards in Atlanta, which is roughly the same size. So, yeah.
And right now I'm looking at the the Yelp reviews on it. It's good Yelp reviews. I think 4.4 out of 5 recommendation. And like you said, one more time to emphasize that there is a large portion of the exhibition that does acknowledge the victims, and this isn't a glorification.
Absolutely, I wouldn't be a part of it if it wasn't that way.
All right, Doctor, is there? You mentioned a couple of books. If people are fascinated with the topic, where can they find those?
I should be better at plugging my own book, but it's called "Watch Me Die: Last Words from Death Row." Amazon, Wild Blue Press. There's a couple of editions of those. If they want to check those out, or if they want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, they'll see a lot of my art that I'll post without the names, but they can DM me and I can tell them who did it.
I will tell you, I like that you're not very good at plugging your own book. It means that you just wanted to have a conversation, that this wasn't a commercial. Dr. Bill Kimberlin,
absolutely.
We appreciate you. Thank you for your time, sir, and I'm excited to check this out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Just about 2:38. We're going to move on to a new short documentary film called Sawyer Avenue Sunday Afternoon, a story that has a deep connection to the city of Chicago. We're going to bring the filmmaker on, Bill Morrison, as well as Jamie Calvin from the Invisible Institute. Invisible Institute is a nonprofit journalism production company on the south side of Chicago. So Bill and Jamie, thank you for taking the time.
Hey, thanks for having us on.
Of course.
Yeah, good to be with you.
Thank you very much for taking the time. Bill, I'm going to start with you. Tell us just a little bit about the story of this documentary film and how it came to be.
So, as we all remember, DHS mounted a full campaign last October and called Midway Blitz. And at that time, a bunch of Chicagoans got together and filed a lawsuit against DHS, against Kristi Noem. And it's part of the exploration of, and for the judge to see what the accusations were. The videos were, the body cam videos were submitted and reviewed, and Judge Ellis then released them to the public. And the law firm of Lovey and Lovey posted them, and Jamie alerted me when they became available, and I downloaded them and started looking through what I think was something like, 50 hours of footage. And then I came upon this particular incident, which took place on October 12th in the Albany Park neighborhood. And I was really struck by it for a number of reasons, but mostly that we got such an intimate portrait of not only the agents, but also the protesters, the neighbors who came out on the street, and most importantly, the man that was arrested and put into the back of an SUV. So after examining this footage, Jamie and I had made another short called Incident a few years ago, where we had used this sort of temporal synchronized approach to different source material, also cutting it into a split screen and quad screen. So using that same approach with this material, and also employing cell phone footage that the neighbors shared with us, we had this sort of dual aspect. You had the camera footage of the body cam footage of the agents, and also the cell phone footage of the people coming to protest. And it really puts the viewer right in the midst of this.
And really quick as a follow-up, whenever you're able to get all those different perspectives and put them together for this 18-minute film, could it have been longer? What is 18 minutes just sort of where it ended up actually being? But then what did these different perspectives from body cam footage and cell phone video ultimately end up telling you about this one particular incident that you were focused on?
Well, I mean, what's really remarkable about this administration is that they're sort of collaring people randomly on the street without warrants, just based on the color of their skin. I never thought I would live in a society like that, but that's where we are at. And that alone is shocking enough, But I think the really telling thing is that the man that they arrested had the wherewithal and the composure to turn the questioning on them once they're inside the car and say, this is all in Spanish. The people who are arresting him are Latino as well. And he says, why are you guys doing this? I get up at 4 a.m. to work every day, and I don't have the same opportunities as you do, which I thought was really an incredible moment. We just present the footage that we were able to procure. There's no editorializing on our part. You really take away from it what you will. There's a woman on the street that says to one of the agents, what are you doing? And you hear another neighbor saying his job. I think that, you can also make a defense that these agents are working stiffs. However, it is incumbent upon all law officers to reveal their faces and identify themselves. And these are masked agents who are performing these acts anonymously. And that's really an untenable and doesn't allow for accountability in any sort of system of democracy.
Jamie, I want to bring you in. In addition to talking about the film, can you tell us a little bit about the Invisible Institute?
Sure. We're a collection of reporters based on the South Side who really for the last decade have focused on questions of police accountability in Chicago. So, I broke the Laquan McDonald story initially in Chicago. We sued the city and the police department over a 10-year period, with the result that now investigations of allegations of police misconduct are public information in Illinois. So we have been really kind of laser focused on the question of how journalists can contribute to the ability of citizens to hold government accountable, and particularly law enforcement. So now, almost necessarily, our focus has extended to the immigration crackdown and the conduct of federal agents, ICE and Border Patrol.
And to that point, and this is for both of you, but Bill, you had mentioned initially having 50 hours worth of footage to go through, and you kind of ended up sort of hyper focusing on one story, and that ended up being Sawyer Avenue Sunday afternoon. I'd imagine within those 50 hours of the footage that there are several other stories that could be told.
There are countless stories that could be told, and we continue to comb through the footage, which continues to be released. There are hundreds of hours now. I think what was so compelling about this, as Bill said, was the intimacy. There were big confrontations in Chicago, at the ICE facility and in Little Village. And the big confrontations, some of which, as we saw in Minneapolis and Chicago, are reported by mass media, are really hard for people to make sense of visually. This was so intimate, a single block, a single arrest. And it wasn't an organized demonstration of neighbors. This happened on people's doorsteps on a Sunday afternoon, and they came out of their houses and confronted masked federal agents. So there was something really compelling. And the way we've come to think of it is, with all of the protests across the country, particularly in Chicago and Minneapolis, this particular incident allows us to kind of put that neighborhood-based resistance to abuses of federal authority under a microscope. You can see everybody's faces, you can hear everybody's voices. And as Bill said, we sort of immerse the audience in multiple perspectives. So you have the perspective of the agents as well as of the man they've detained and of the neighbors.
You mentioned the intimacy, and do you think that has an impact on the audience whenever they're able to sort of focus their attention on one particular instance, one particular person, as opposed to, as you said, showing some of the bigger confrontations that happened?
I think so. I mean, I think that many of these people are relatable. I think even the agents are, to some degree, relatable. We see everyone with their own conflict, and there's sort of archetypes within the neighborhood that you can recognize. The guy with the Bears jersey, the person in the Halloween costume, the woman in the bathrobe. These are, very obviously Chicago characters. Even the 911 dispatcher is very typically Chicago, and I think that resonates with an audience. That this specificity, speaks to this could be you, this could be your block, and how would you react, and if you saw someone being arrested on your front porch.
Also, one of the most telling, actually not in the film itself, although it's dramatized in the film, but one of the individuals, Bill references a woman in a bathrobe, middle-aged professional woman lying on her sofa reading on a Sunday afternoon. This young man is tackled by masked agents basically at the foot of her stairs. And when we talked to her afterwards about the fact that she was just propelled out her door without a thought and sort of interrogated and confronted these agents. What are you doing? What's your name? Your mother would be ashamed. it turned out she'd never been to a political protest in her life. And she said to me in our first conversation, if I saw a child being kidnapped at the foot of my stairs and I stepped back inside and closed the door, who would I be? And I think the film sort of conveys that sense of just sort of moral shock of neighbors who were, as Bill said, very recognizable. You know, they could be your neighbors, it could be your block. And so one of the things the film does, certainly for me, and was part of our intention, is it brings home the sort of moral clarity that people have, I think, across some significant political spectrum, regardless of, you know, political affiliation or ideology. When they actually see masked agents on their street, grabbing people without warrants, without any basis except race and language, they're shocked. And so at the center of the protests we've seen is less a kind of organized resistance than, I think, this quality of neighborliness and you know, genuine shock. Just I may not know what to do with immigration policy, but I know what I'm looking at here on my street is wrong.
And where can people find the film? Where can they see it?
It's streaming now on the New Yorker's platform. They also have a YouTube channel that is not beyond a paywall. And if you search for Sawyer Avenue Sunday Afternoon, you can see it. I mean, you asked earlier why it wasn't a longer film. This is really in real time, and it tells the story of a 20-minute episode. And that is, you know, that's long for one of these things. Had the neighbors not come out, this would have been something that was over very quickly, and this guy would have been removed from the street. It was prolonged to 18 or 20 minutes because people came out and protested, and that's what the story is. Is there a feature-length story within this type of footage, or maybe within this story? That's something we hope to explore, but this type of film, 15 to 30 minutes long, explores our issues in a way that we think are relevant and that are digestible by the public, and we think it's a great forum for talking about these things.
Absolutely. Bill, Jamie, it's a fascinating conversation. It's a film that I'm sure a lot of people are going to make a point to check out. We appreciate you both taking the time to chat with us today.
Thanks so much for highlighting it.
Of course, absolutely. All right, guys, 2:50 Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 53 on Chicago Live.
It's the Jake and Mark Strauss Show.
Come on.
I'm trying to work on a jingle for us.
Come on.
And I am not the one that should be singing.
I sing that well, now I've worked Brian Jackson into it.
Right.
Because if you're unfamiliar, Brian has joined us on our Saturday, Sunday
extravaganza.
Funganza that we have on the show. And so now I say it's the Jake, Brian, Mark Strauss Show.
Which, it fits in there pretty easily.
If the Fox lawyers aren't trying to get the copyright, trademark, everything on that, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing there in New York?
Lock that down,
right?
hire the jingle.
Make the billboard.
Yeah, right?
Get the bus.
Our like little light bulbs in our eyes kind of flashing people on the Kennedy.
Right. Hello.
See, this is a little preview of what you can get.
What?
Look at that. Look,
that's a
the
nice
speed
preview.
in which they got off of our shots to shoot a bunch of strangers at the beam.
Staring in a mirror.
Staring at Cloudgate.
A misshaped mirror.
How many of those people do you think know that's called Cloudgate?
Probably about, I would say less than 11%. And do you like the numbers that I throw out there?
I was just about to say, not 10, not 12, 11%.
Jake, 79% of all statistics are made up.
Are made up. All right, my man.
That's not made up.
That's not made up.
That's real life right
That's a
there.
beautiful day. Here's what I'll tell you. After this show, Iris and I are
going there?
Are Sox Park bound.
Are you really?
Yeah, and it sounds like it could be a nice night at the ballpark.
Well, it's going to be beautiful. And I mean, look at that. The little shades of pastel there. I mean, a little, that looks like something maybe a little, French artist would do, back, not really impressionist, but I don't know, what was before or after impressionist? Yeah, come on, Jake, dig back into your art history.
I majored in journalism. I didn't major in.
Hey, man, I was at the Art Institute once.
That's it. That's the end of your story. I had to take an art credit in college, and I took a theater class, and all I did for a semester was memorize movie monologues.
Really?
So I couldn't tell you the different periods of art, but I can do Alec Baldwin's monologue from Glengarry Glen Ross, which is equally valuable.
Yeah, it actually probably is more valuable in life. I had to have a music appreciation class at one point.
Do you just walk in and go, I do, and then walk out?
You should have, and they should have just issued
they're like, well, he does. He appreciates music.
But we sat there and we listened to records.
Okay.
And
explain what records are.
Records are these flat, round things.
Licorice pizza.
And licorice pizza? I've never heard of.
You never heard of licorice pizza?
No.
Yeah.
So you put them on this little platter that spins, and it's got like a little arm that goes over it, and it has a needle in it. It's called a needle, but it doesn't really look like a needle. It's just a little guy that goes down there, and it fits in the grooves of the licorice pizza, and it makes music magically.
Here's what I will tell you, and this is me getting nerdy. I do think the sound of an album on vinyl, just that maybe it's the crackle, or maybe it's just the aesthetic of dropping the needle.
You're not the only one.
It sounds great.
Yeah. And I have a pretty decent record collection, which I've kept. I've never gotten rid of any records.
Nice.
No, I've kept them because someday they're going to come back.
They're back. What do you mean they're going to come back? They're back.
That's what I was saying back in the day. But
now your 8 tracks.
Not so much.
I'm not so sure they're ever
I'm
coming
going to tell
back.
you something that you probably don't know because of your demographic.
Okay.
And actually 8 tracks. I never had any 8 tracks because I guess my mom wouldn't let me spend money on that.
Sure.
Plus we didn't have an 8-track player,
Sure.
so that kind of. So 8 tracks, they look like
a big clunky cassette.
A big clunky cassette.
Yeah.
And they were just one circulating piece of tape.
Okay.
So they would go round and round.
Sure.
And there were actually 4 different tracks. The left and right channel.
Yep.
That's why they got the 8. But there were 4 different. So you could push the button and you could skip from channel 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Okay.
And you can go back and forth. But here's the deal: since it was one elongated piece of tape, it would stretch out over time.
Okay.
So people
the
back in
song
the
would
day. It would be a little bit like, so people would do this. They would put their 8-track tapes in the refrigerator
To tighten them up?
Shrinkage.
Now, but then
to shrink the tape. Yeah.
Now, would it then make them too fast? Would it?
That I'm sure was not very precise.
The pendulum would. Yeah, I don't think the freezer is going to stop.
No. It was not really a precise
and bring
art.
the Top Gun soundtrack back to the. Wow, the way they're trying to get us to weather. Can you tell behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
it's
That's the most subtle move on I've
It's-
ever seen in my entire life.
I feel like the stage manager for the Ed Sullivan shows over there, like, come on, let's move along. Let's move along. We got the Beatles coming up here. Move along.
Do we have the Beatles coming up on the show?
No.
You don't know. You don't know who's booked on the show. Do you look at the lineup?
Beetle that crawled across the floor here a little
Maybe
while ago.
Ringo's waiting in the wings.
He actually could be.
Listen, we only have 2 available, and of the 2, Ringo's the only one that I would guarantee we could probably get in studio. I don't know. We've had some great people in studio.
Oh, we've had some
brilliant
really
people in
wonderful
studio. We've
people.
had. I shall call him friend of show Tom Hanks in studio.
Yeah.
No, you have a great Tom Hanks story.
Huge. Yeah, absolutely huge. Yeah, no, just really, he is the Jimmy Stewart of our era.
Yeah. Our drummer,
I wish
drummer
that I had
Stewart
coined that, but I don't think I did. I think
No.
that was around way before me.
Can everyone do I feel like I do a Jimmy Stewart impression, but I feel like
please.
I'm drummer Stewart.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's not bad at all. You know that somebody stuck him in a bomber plane during World War II
Yeah,
and he had to
yeah,
go
yeah.
on missions?
Yeah.
Not only is he a great actor,
American hero.
but he's an American hero.
American hero.
And we have a number of those that were back in the day in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, because they had to.
They're really trying to push this
Wow,
along now.
I get it. Weather.
Yeah.
Look at that wide range of temperatures we have out there.
Right now,
oh my
wide
God.
range of temperatures stretching from the 70s at the beaches to the 70s at the airport. Southwest side, you're in the 70s.
Wow.
Northwest side, you're in the 70s. You know who has 70s? We all have 70s.
You get a 70. You get a 70. You get
It's
a
the
70.
70s hit radio all the time. We play the 70s.
The Bee Gees. All right, listen. There are a lot of people that are going to be coming into town for whom they would kill to see those temperatures at Grand Park and Millennium Park a week from today.
It's going to be a little bit. Oh yeah, a week
For
from today.
Lollapalooza.
Yeah, it's going to be a little warmer toward. Let me just tell you the forecast.
Sure.
Okay, so we got 70s now.
Yep. Go pull it up and pull it up now. Now's the time. There you go.
We don't have to.
Come on.
I'd rather look at Jake. We've got temperatures
no one ever.
in the mid 80s. Yeah. Look, staring at numbers. This is
but like
it's like watching paint dry, isn't it?
But I guess everyone's big complaint, or not complaint, fear surrounding Lala is not so much the heat, because listen, it's end of July,
smoke.
beginning of August. I was going to say any potential of rain.
We're looking pretty dry right now.
Okay.
So we're talking about next weekend, right?
Yeah, next weekend.
So here's the deal. Let's
Looking
back
ahead.
up for today. We've got 70s today, 80s tomorrow, probably around 83, 80, 45.
Okay.
We're into the low 90s for Sunday. Low 90s again on Monday. Then the rest of the week is mid to upper 80s and low 90s. So we're back in a very summer-like pattern. During the 7-day forecast, I don't see any rain coming our way. Only a very minor chance, 20% chance of rainfall on Monday. We really could use a shot. It's going to be a very dry period. It's going to be warm. It's going to be, well, it's funny because in the past we've had rainy periods down at Lala, and it's been the mosh pit has been.
Yeah. Well, that's always the danger is that, when someone says, well, it's going to rain on Wednesday, but then it'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, but the problem is
it's already a mud pit.
Yeah, you turn into and it starts.
Yeah.
Once you start stirring up that mud,
Right.
there's not enough time of it being left alone for it to dry.
Yeah. So this year, again, looking at what we see right now, looks more like a dust pit rather than a mosh pit.
Okay, I'll take it.
So think pig pen on Charlie Brown.
Listen, the amount of pop culture references we have dropped. Mm-hmm. Hey, guess who has 2 thumbs and is too old for Lollapalooza? This guy.
My daughter stayed at my apartment here in the city, and this was a number of years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I'm still getting glitter out of the carpet. Yeah.
Glitter. There's a joke about glitter that I can't tell you on television. I'll
does
tell you.
it
I'll
involve
tell you. No.
Dancing with a pole?
No, it does not. It does not. It does not. It does not.
Okay.
I'll tell you. All right. Decent weather for the ballpark.
Yeah.
What was that? Break.
I don't know. They're holding up one finger.
I would say, what finger was?
Yeah.
Wait, can we bring? I'm not sure what the temperatures were. Could you bring up one more time? Wow.
70s. 70s. You got 70s. Stick right here.
Wow.
We got more 70s coming up on all 70s. Hit radio and weather coming up.
Except for
next.
you, Gary. You get 80s. We'll be right back. Chicago Live rolls on. There. Welcome back, 3:04 on Chicago Live. We're going to talk all things Girl Trek. If you didn't know, Girl Trek is the largest public health movement for black women in the country. More than 1.2 million members nationwide. And we're going to talk with Vanessa Garrison and Ayanna Taylor all about it. Thank you for joining me. How are you today?
Thank you.
I'm reading online, and I see a really great sentence I want to lead off with, which is, Girl Trek is a life-saving sisterhood. Tell me more about that.
Yes, so Girl Trek is the largest Black women's health movement in the country. Our focus is on walking, but women come for so much more. They enter our organization walking. We ask them to walk 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, but they actually stay for the sisterhood. So it really resonates with women because we're able to meet them exactly where they are.
I mean, you are aiming big for the goal. I'm reading that the campaign heals intergenerational trauma, fights systemic racism, transforms Black lives. I mean, you guys are aiming for the sky. You couldn't have aimed smaller. That is massive. How do you even begin with such a mission like that?
We began one step at a time, putting one foot in front of the other. We began by telling the story of the women who came before us, women like Harriet Tubman, who walked herself to freedom, women like the women of the Montgomery bus boycotts. And then we started to inspire local women, including women all across Chicago, to believe that they were the Harriets of their own communities. And they started walking, they started organizing, they started going back for their friends and families. And we now have over 1 million members. And so with that large of a membership, we've come together as a collective and a community to say, what's next? How do we solve for those things together? And we're solving for them one walk at a time, one walking crew at a time. So it's a really practical solution and also a powerful solution.
Very powerful, absolutely. And you guys have something coming up that's going to involve the WNBA All-Star Weekend. Is that right?
Yes, we do.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So on Saturday, so tomorrow morning, we will gather with, right now we have over 1,000 people registered to walk with us in Jackson Park, and we're really excited about it. And we think that this was just an ideal time for us to be in Chicago with the WNBA. That is an organization that, this experience, celebrates the excellence and the strength of Black women athletes. And so what we're able to say to women too is that you don't have to be a professional athlete. Here's an opportunity for you to just take a step, take a walk. You can move your body just like professional athletes can, but it's also something that's really accessible. So we're excited to be in Jackson Park tomorrow. We're going to walk 3 miles with all of our guests and have other experiences. We have partnered with the WNBA and Evernorth, and there'll be a lot of experiences for people if they come out and start to understand about Black women's health in general, and the opportunities that are just right outside their door to move their bodies.
I was going to ask, 1,000 people, is there still room for more?
There's room for everyone.
Absolutely.
Plenty of room. I absolutely love that. We mentioned 1.2 million members nationwide. This started back in 2010, is that right?
That's right. It started with a call to action for women. Could they complete a 10-week walking challenge? We had about 500 women who said yes, they could do it. And then it took root from there once we started training women to actually be organizers in their own communities. And then it just started to grow and grow from there. 16
years, 1.2 million members. It means you're not just doing something right, but this is having an impact on people's lives, and people are talking about it. Whenever you see this kind of success, what does that make you feel?
It makes us feel wonderful. Like we start with one woman, but what we find is that when that one woman walks and then she brings another sister along, then communities change. So it makes us feel like we are doing the work of, walking in the legacy of, like Vanessa said, Harriet Tubman, but also more recent civil rights leaders, especially those women who were legacy leaders in Chicago. So we feel like we're walking in their footsteps.
Whenever I hear 1.2 million members, what I also hear is 1.2 million stories. Is there one particular instance, one particular member, one particular case where that story just really resonated with you and it really made you just pause for a moment and go, we're on the right track. We're doing something right?
I can think of two really quick stories right out of here in Chicago. One, we have a woman named Morgan Dixon who just walked 100 days straight, and she tracked her walks on our new app called The Underground. So that's a huge accomplishment for her. It's been transformational for her mind, her body, and her spirit. And then we have generations of women who've been walking now here in Chicago. I'm thinking of a woman named Kanika Carlton who's been walking with her two daughters for more than a decade now. And so those little girls have grown up walking right beside their mom as a healthy role model. And as her daughter went off to college, she was able to take her Girl Trek t-shirt with her and then carry that legacy onto her college campus. And so that's exactly what our hope and dream always was, with this, that this would become a ritual amongst women, a tradition amongst families, that it would be a habit that women could pass down from one woman to a child, and that child could then have that habit. And then all of a sudden we're talking about a preventative solution that helps women to avoid the early death outcomes that we originally started organizing around.
I'd love to know, for each of you personally, how do you feel like you've been changed by Girl Trek? How's it impacted you?
Well, I can start. I met Vanessa. She's one of the co-founders. I met the two co-founders probably 16 years ago now, and I was not a walker at all. But just the simplicity of the ask, but the ask not being small, really resonated with me. And I've been changed because even though I have a gym membership and I have some expensive equipment at home, I still go to walking as my default. And it's changed a lot of the health issues that I had before have been improved because of the walking habit that I've been able to maintain.
Yeah. And for me, I've been changed by the women's stories. Like, I shared two here, but there's no place that I go across the country, communities that I go to, where women, often with tears in their eyes, will say that Girl Trek has changed their life, has saved their life. And that for me is the greatest hope that we could ever have. And so I can carry those women's faces and names with me. And I can remember that walking is more than a workout, that this is more than exercise, and that we're reaching deep down to the root of a real problem, pulling up that root, and then providing a real solution for women.
Are there any small tips? Because I agree with you, and especially in regards to just getting out and walking, what a walk can do for you. I agree with you 100%. Are there other small health tips that are, because every journey begins with a single step, right? So are there any quick little things that maybe someone can do around the home that might be a good first step to kind of taking on this journey?
I think just walking, I do it still, walk around my house, or I have a walking pad that's inexpensive so that when I can't get out of the house, I can walk on my walking pad. And then I also think just like pausing and resting and understanding kind of like where you are in your body is one important first step to start to build a mindset build a healthy mindset.
We also have something that we tell women, which is you can just do 15 minutes out and 15 minutes back. So sometimes thinking about exercise or thinking about starting a new habit can feel overwhelming. It's why we focus on 30 minutes a day. It's a radical solution. CDC, all sorts of people say all you really need is 30 minutes a day of walking. And for people who don't know where to start, sometimes it's 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, just until you can build up the habit. Or just put on your music, your audio, whatever it is you're listening to, and say, I'm just going to walk 15 minutes out and then 15 minutes back.
Absolutely. Ladies, we are out of time. Really quick before we let you go, let people know where they can find more information.
Girltrek.org. They can find more information on an app store near you. You can type in Girl Trek and download our new Underground app, where you can see who are the women in your community, and you can connect with women in the Girl Trek movement.
Fantastic. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for your time today. We really do appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right, guys. 3:14 Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back, 316. The collaboration between Chicago Bears and PNC is so incredibly important. And the reason we're going to talk about that today is because we're going to talk about the Small Business All Pros presented by PNC. And we're going to bring in Tony Smith, who's a Senior Vice President, Community Development. Tony, first of all, it's great to have you in studio with us, man. Normally, like I said, I'm staring at a screen. It's actually great to be able to see your handsome face in person.
Well, how about that? I hope my wife thinks the same thing. But
I guarantee you she does. What's her name? You'll give her a shout out?
Hello, Michael.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
You know what? I just earned some really difficult to earn points. But
I got you. I got you. We'll do it again before we wrap up. This is such an important collaboration between PNC, between Chicago Bears, because there's an old Jack Lemmon quote I always love, which is when you're at the top, send the elevator back down. You guys are helping small businesses, championing them in a way that is so unbelievably important. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. First of all, I would say this. It's always terrific to work with the Chicago Bears. They're such an amazing organization. But
we're quite biased here at Fox 32.
Absolutely.
We believe the same.
For all the right reasons.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, this particular opportunity was something that married up very nicely with our value, which is that small businesses really do matter. They're part of the vitality of all of our neighborhoods, from Naperville to Evanston, from Chicago Heights to Broadview. And what we're doing here is creating really something special, giving exposure on a big stage to some very small businesses that really need it.
And can we talk about I'd imagine it doesn't take long to see the impact something like this has on a small business. Can you talk about what are some of the examples that you've seen and what that makes you feel like whenever you can look and go, okay, this was a good idea. We did a right thing.
You know what? When people ask that, I say, look, I want you to imagine Caleb Williams throws a touchdown, and of course we get a 2-point conversion.
Come on. We're the Bears. Let's go.
Absolutely. But then it's us. It's 60,000 Chicagoans singing "Bear Down," except me because I can't hold a note.
Not with that attitude.
Come on, man.
I've got we're going to put you on the spot when this segment's over. You got to sing the whole thing.
Oh, no. But imagine we segue from that to some small business, in this case, Jessica, and the amazing things that her business is doing.
Well, let's bring in Jessica. So we have Jessica joining us via Zoom. Jessica Purgis, Taco Talan, chosen as one of the Chicago Bears Small Business All Pros recipients. Jessica, talk to me about first of all, tell us a little bit about Taco Talan, and then also what it means to be a part of this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Taco Tlan is a Mexican family-owned restaurant in Hermosa, 4312 West Fullerton to be exact. And we're known for our quesabirria. So this really meant a lot to us. I believe we were selected in 2022, right at the height of us introducing the quesabirria to Chicago. And what it really meant to us specifically, I think it's that exposure that we really need as the small business. We were able to be included in newsletters. We were able to get invited to a game. I believe even now there's some people that are calling us for catering because they had heard about us or learned about us from those newsletters that went out.
Now, listen, this show has about 40 minutes left, so give Tony and myself about 60 minutes, and we're coming out there because I got to try some of that food. It sounds amazing. I'd imagine you saw an impact pretty quickly whenever something like this happens.
Yeah, we did have people calling us, asking about our menu. We were online, so we have a website, and they would browse it, or they would want to learn more and then come out and DM us that they did see us on a newsletter, or I believe they were even introduced it at one of the games. So that kind of exposure is just really needed for a small business. So it did have an impact with more foot traffic at the storefront.
I love that. So Tony, she says that pretty instantly she saw the impact of this collaboration. And I always complain, they got all these like singing shows and a person wins and I go, you never hear from them. I don't know. I couldn't tell you who won the singing competition however many seasons ago, but to hear that you guys are doing something like this, and they don't see a trickle effect. She says people are calling, people are asking to cater, people are calling and asking about the menu. I mean, that's what you were hoping for, but I mean, you never know if it's going to succeed like that.
No, you hit it right on the nose. Small businesses generally don't have access to this kind of stage or this kind of audience or this kind of reach. And what the Chicago Bears have done is essentially lent their platform to companies like Jessica's and others. And we look forward to recognizing 4 more organizations this year. Now, of course, they only have until July 29th, so the deadline is right around
5
the
days.
corner.
You got
That's
5
right.
days.
Absolutely. And we want every business that has this dream to get out there. Go ahead to chicagobears.com. It's easy to find the application. Love to see you.
And what do they need to know? What kind of small business do they need to be? It could be anything. What do they need to know to be able to be a part of this?
Yeah, so you know what? This is going to cover a wide number of businesses, 5 million in sales or less. And they have to be in business for at least 2 years.
Okay.
And they have to be within 75 miles of Chicago. But again, that hits all of what we call Chicagoland. So we're pretty excited about it, and we really do think we're going to create some pretty fantastic moments.
Jessica, I got to ask, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who are part of a small business and they think, no, like they'd never choose me, or my business would never be the one that's a part of this. You're an example that not only can you be chosen, great things can come from this.
And some of us love tacos.
Yes, I'm just saying we're going to be there, and now 58 minutes, Tony and I will be there.
They'll never know if they don't try, right?
See, that's exactly right.
We're
They'll
coming.
never know. They'll never know if they don't try. Tony, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm biased. And so I truly believe that there are other football teams out there who could attempt to do something like this, and they would do their best, and that's cute. But I feel like the Bears doing it is just bringing it to a level that no other team in the NFL is going to do.
No, I'm right with you. Again, terrific organization, and their heart's in the right place, because we see it not only in what they're doing with small businesses, we see what they're doing in our hospitals and on our streets and in our parks. The Chicago Bears are the real deal. I love them. I'm biased, and I'm from USC, so of course.
I see a little bit of bias there.
Absolutely.
And I'd imagine that this is, listen, you said 4 businesses are going to be chosen this year.
Yes.
Safe to say that, okay, maybe you're not chosen this year. Try again?
Absolutely. You know what? You keep going back to the well until you find water. That's just life in general, but it certainly helps when you got organizations that are really committed to this particular strategy. And small businesses, let's think about it. You're driving up and down, Chicago streets. We define neighborhoods by what we see when we're driving through into them. And small businesses are so much a part of that identity. So Jessica, I want to see her thrive. I want to see her business succeed. And I believe the Bears feel the same way.
And I'd imagine, I said we're picking 4, that there are countless of ones that don't make it any given year. And that's a great example of one, that they should keep trying, because maybe next year is your year. But it's also a reminder that there's so many great small businesses out there that need this little boost, that could use this little boost, that could benefit. And so you guys and the Bears helping out, I just love that the partnership's going to keep that going, hopefully year after year after year.
Absolutely. And I'll say it's deeper than that. When you say small business, Jessica has a storefront, but guess what? She has suppliers, she has employees, and they're all the other individuals and businesses that are impacted by her success. So yeah, we need and want and hope she'll just blow it out of the park.
And Jessica, I got to tell you, if I'm sort of choosing between, maybe what spot to grab dinner at tonight, and I see that you have a fun history with the Bears, I'm thinking, yeah, I might give that. Do you feel like it kind of maybe has even met a little bit of an uptick in business, hopefully?
Oh, when I got chosen, I definitely used that card. I was like, we were chosen by the Chicago Bears, so you have to keep promoting yourselves, and it absolutely makes you sound a little bit more legit.
Jessica, I love that you throw that card around. I would milk that till the end of time. Please tell me you're just going to keep using that.
Absolutely.
See, Jessica, this is why you're smart. You know what you're doing. Jessica, tell me about the moment that you found out that you were chosen. Do you remember what that moment was like?
Yeah, I was actually on vacation with my family, and then I had a call, and they were like, please call us back because we have a surprise for you. And I called back, and they're like, you were chosen. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. It's just like an honor, because it's a privilege to have your name tied to the Chicago Bears. I was born and raised in Chicago, so it's really nice to have that acknowledgement that you're working your butt off and, you're doing something. And yeah, That's all I can really say. It's pretty cool.
That's a great story. If you have a piece of advice for someone who's involved in a small business out there that says, listen, I'm struggling and I'm not in the place that Jessica's in, what piece of advice would you give them?
So I actually had somebody call me just a couple days ago, and they were struggling. And I think that we just need to keep telling our story. We need to be on social media. A lot of people are uncomfortable being on the camera, but I think right now a lot of people want to buy from businesses that they know about, that they want to, how do I say, not take care of, but they basically want to make sure that they're purchasing from somebody that they know and they trust. So don't be afraid to continue to tell your story and talk about your family. Do as much as possible about, on social media.
I love that. Tony, I want to swing back around because, listen, it's if a football team just showed up and said, we're just going to play football, that's all we're going to do, no one could fault them for it. It's what their job is. If they're just playing football, fine. If that's all you want to do. But it feels like you guys, it feels like the Bears, this partnership, football is kind of just the beginning, and football is, if anything, it's sort of the icing on the cake, the benefit of all this other work that you guys are doing in the community.
Yeah, I think it shows the connectivity, and I would, listening to Jessica, I would say this, have no small plans. And I know George Burnham said it first, but this
you
whole
said it better, Tony.
Well, you know what, I'm a run with that. But that's right. We want to inspire, and small businesses are doing that every day, and the Bears recognize that they're doing it every day. When you walk into even the stadium and you look at all the vendors, you see it living, and you have to love when it's authentic, when it's real, and when it's happening. And I think it's why this partnership works, because we share that value.
Tony, one more time where people can get more information.
So you're going to go to chicagobears.com, and you will see their small business, all pros. So just click on the link. You'll find it pretty easy. The Bears make it really, really easy. And we look forward to your application, and hopefully you'll be one of the next 4 winners in this next round.
I love that. Tony, good to see you, my friend. Jessica, thank you for your time. Congratulations to you. Tony and I will be out there in about 48 minutes, so be on the lookout for us.
Thank you.
All right. Tony, one more time. You want to give a shout out? Go ahead, get some points.
Michael, love you, baby. See ya.
No. All right, my friend. Good to see you, dude.
Thank you.
Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back. 3:31 on this beautiful Chicago day. If you were watching about 30, 45 minutes ago, you heard the illustrious Mark Strell tell us that everyone's in the ballpark of the 70s today. If you're going to be outside tonight, he said it's going to be a beautiful night. Lots of people out there enjoying Millennium Park and getting their selfies with the bean. And you know what? We did a little bit of long-range forecasting. And for anyone who's looking to check out Lollapalooza over the course of the 4-day next weekend, he says as of right now, it's looking dry. We weren't able to, maybe we can't nail down exactly what the temperature is going to be, but more importantly, no major storms forecasted, no major rain forecasted. So hopefully, knock on wood, nothing's going to come in and turn the place into a mud pit. Hopefully there won't be any kind of weather evacuations. Hopefully it'll be a nice 4-day stretch of weather for everyone who's going to be out there trying to listen to some music. Listen, we got some really interesting guests coming up over the final 28 minutes in the show. We're going to talk with some folks over at Heritage Auctions because there are more than $32 million worth of sports memorabilia coming in for the Summer Platinum Night Sports Auction. It's going to be pretty incredible. They've got, they've got Michael Jordan memorabilia, Walter Payton, Ernie Banks, lots of Cubs memorabilia. They're going to be all kind of different artifacts. And listen, if you probably know that we had a guy talk about sports cards yesterday. The sports memorabilia business is a big one. It is a booming one, and sometimes it's just fun, whether or not you want to spend $100,000 on a signed baseball or whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's just cool to get out there and just see the stuff in person, see the autographs, and just see what they got, and just see it up close and personal before someone else spends way too much money on it. So we're going to talk with some folks at Heritage Auctions about all of that. Also, we're going to talk with podcaster, entertainment expert of all things pop culture, Brandon Davis, host of the Brandon Davis Show, whose boots are on the floor at San Diego Comic-Con, which is really the collection of all things pop culture happening on the planet right now. Throughout the rest of the weekend in San Diego, more than 135,000 people gathered together where massive news is usually dropped. You normally get, first look at trailers, and they bring superhero cast out, and they get actors coming out to reveal that they're about to play some big iconic character. All the major entertainment news that's going to be happening over the next coming a couple of days. It's going to be coming out of San Diego. It's going to be coming out of Comic-Con. And we've got a friend of the show whose boots are on the ground. He's walking around the floor. He's checking out the panels. He's hosting some of the panels. So we're going to be talking with him about that and what we can expect over the next couple of days. So a lot to go on. Also, WNBA All-Star Weekend. We're going to be talking a lot about that and what people can expect and all the great things that are coming out of that. So lots to come right here on Chicago Live. You don't want to miss it. But for now, we're going to roll to break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, 340 on Chicago Live. If you missed it a little bit earlier in the show, you might have seen the man, the myth, the legend, the illustrious Mark Strell joining me here on the show. And if you liked the kind of rapport that he and I have together, and hopefully you do, that is just a small indicator, a small little preview of what you can find if you tune in to sort of the brand new Good Day Chicago weekend edition. It's myself, the aforementioned Mark Strell, and of course the legend himself, Mr. Brian Jackson. So it's the three of us together, and really this new weekend show that we have going, it's a really great opportunity to get everything that you need as you're waking up on a Saturday and Sunday morning and sipping on your cup of coffee. Of course, you're going to get the latest breaking headlines happening around our area and around the world. You're going to get a little bit of entertainment courtesy of myself. You're going to get a little bit of sports courtesy of Brian, who is one of the best minds in sports in the city of Chicago. And of course, Mark Strell is always going to keep you updated on what's going on with the weather. But then also there's just a camaraderie. You know, it really helps in any kind of newscast whenever everyone working on the show gets along, and everyone does, and it's such a great vibe, and I can tell you that you don't want to miss it. A little bit of a preview of what we have coming up. I'm going to have a one-on-one interview. No one else in the city of Chicago has this. We're going to be talking with maybe the most famous chef in the world. We're going to be talking with Gordon Ramsay. His new season of his hit Fox series Kitchen Nightmares just returned this week for a new season. And it's got a little bit of a local connection. You know, normally every season of Kitchen Nightmares in which he visits these struggling kitchens to help them sort of pull themselves out of their troubles and hopefully find success. We're going to be talking with Gordon Ramsay. We actually got to visit the set of one of the restaurants that he was visiting. So he's visiting several different restaurants around the Midwest, including a couple in Chicago, which we'll tell you about later. But we got to travel to Detroit to the restaurant he was visiting there and go behind the scenes of what it takes to pull off one of those restaurants and really one of those sort of restorations, and what it takes to pull off and try to help these people sort of live to see another day. The restaurant industry is incredibly tough. Most restaurants don't make it more than 5 years. I think 4.5 is the average for restaurant survival. So we had a lot of fun there, but I can tell you that I've had the great pleasure of interviewing Gordon Ramsay for the better part of 20 years now, because I've worked with Fox for 20 years, and he does a lot of work with Fox. He's a great collaborator, and he and I have such a great shorthand just because of how incredibly charming and talented and quick on his feet that Gordon Ramsay is. So you want to see that interview that's going to be coming up. In fact, if you want to see a little bit of a clip, you can go on over to my Instagram at Jake's Takes. I posted a little bit of 30-second clip or so that's a fun indicator of everything that you can expect if you see that Gordon Ramsay interview. That's going to be coming up tomorrow morning on Good Day Chicago, Saturday edition. And then coming up on Sunday, we're going to have Tom Holland and Zendaya talking all about Spider-Man. In case you didn't know, next week, a week from today, there is a new Spider-Man movie coming out. I've been lucky enough to be able to chat with them for a while now, and we are going to be talking with them about that. But first, I'm very excited about this because I'm a big fan of cool memorabilia. So I want to bring in Mike Provenzale with Heritage Sports Production Manager because there is a massive, massive sports memorabilia auction coming up, more than $30 million worth of stuff. Mike, are you there?
I am. How are you?
I'm doing very well, man. Listen, I'm a huge fan of memorabilia, sports memorabilia, movie memorabilia. Tell us a little bit about this auction and some of the stuff you guys have.
Well, our Summer Platinum Night auction is the premier event in our industry every year, and we get to showcase it at the National Sports Collectors Convention, which is in Chicago next week. We're really excited. We have some of the greatest items available, including Diego Maradona's Hand of God ball, the ball he used to score that infamous goal and the goal of the century. And we have a T206 Honus Wagner. We have a Luke Gehrig game-worn jersey from 1937. We have Michael Jordan game-worn sneakers. There's a little bit of everything, and it's always exciting to have a chance to show it off to collectors.
Now, this is obviously very cool and of interest to a lot of people, but if someone hears this and says, listen, I'm not spending $100,000 on a signed baseball, or I don't have $1 million to sign, to buy a Walter Payton jersey or what have you. Are people allowed to come out and just take a look at some of the items?
Absolutely. It's a collector show, and it's for people who collect, people who don't collect, who are just sports fans, people who can afford an 8-figure jersey or ball, and people who collect at a lower level. It is for everyone. It's a great show, and if you go to our site at ha.com, you can see we have collectibles for whatever level you collect at, where you're the highest level investor or somebody who's just dipping their toe in and wants to start at a lower level.
What would be an example of maybe, you know, on the more affordable items that people might be able to check out?
We have an Ernie Banks sign ball. That's a great item for Chicago people if you're just starting out. We have plenty of cards that are, you know, under $1,000. All the high level stuff gets the media headlines, but there's a little something for everyone. We have at our booth at the National, we'll have over $50 million on display, and it's not just sports. We have entertainment and comics, toys, Pokemon, a little bit of everything.
I love it. And is it true that any reporter who does a live interview about the sports auction gets a free signed Michael Jordan jersey?
I'll tell you what, you can get a free jersey signed by me. That's my.
I'll take it, man.
It's close enough.
I'll take it, Mike.
It doesn't have the value, but
I'll frame it proudly on my wall. Let me know where people can find more information, where they can check it out.
Yeah, go to ha.com. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, we're happy to help.
All right, I appreciate you, Mike. This is going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to get out there and check it out for ourselves. It's going to be amazing. Thank you for joining us, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Coming up in the next block on Chicago Live, friend of the show, friend of myself, pop culture expert Brandon Davis joins. His boots are on the ground in San Diego at Comic-Con. He's going to tell us everything you need to know about the biggest weekend in pop culture. We'll be right back. Welcome back. 349. The center of all things pop culture right now is being held in San Diego at Comic-Con. It is Nerdvana for anyone who has any sort of love or passion for film, for comic books, for superheroes, Marvel, DC, what have you. Anything that's going to happen in the world of entertainment over the next couple of days is happening right there in San Diego. And we've got a friend whose boots are on the ground. He is one of the most respected names in pop culture and entertainment and all things superheroes, Marvel, DC. If you need to know what's going on in the world of pop culture, Brandon Davis is your guy. He is the host of the Brandon Davis Show, and there's a reason he's not just there as a fan. He's also moderating panels as well. The man knows what he's talking about, and I'm happy to call him a friend. Brandon Davis, live from Comic-Con. How are you, my friend?
I'm better after that introduction. My goodness, Jake, your check is in the mail.
I will take it. Listen, man, you are clearly outside of Hall H right now, which is the place to be. Explain to people what's happening at Comic-Con right now, what you are outside of, and really, for someone that's never been, what that experience is like.
So Hall H is where the big stuff goes down now. This is the San Diego Convention Center. It is gigantic. To me, it's the biggest convention center in the world. Whether that's true or false, I'm going with it. It feels like you walk a mile to get to the other side of it to Hall A, because Halls A through D are just loaded with opportunities to see new collectibles, new toys, new shirts, new apparel, new merch, new props from movies, new costumes from movies, new comics. Meet your favorite artists. Hall G is Artists Alley. Some legendary artists are there. You can go and meet an artist. You can buy a commission from them. You can get a chance to see all the kinds of new stuff that's coming in the next few years, all the stuff you love from the past decades. It's just everything you love. If you're in any way a geek, if you've ever loved a TV show or a movie or a comic book, it all happens here. And Hall H is where it goes down big time, because right now the Lanterns panel is happening, and tomorrow the big headline, the main event, if you will, is Marvel Studios is going to bring the house down, because they're bringing out Avengers Doomsday and all that kind of good stuff. It is the hottest ticket of Comic-Con, getting into Hall H. Out there that way, actually, they're sleeping on the sidewalk already to get into Hall H for tomorrow.
Wow, there are people outside on the sidewalk right now to get into the Marvel panel tomorrow.
Oh, yes, it is a big one. I mean, they're bringing everybody. This is the one. This is Avengers Doomsday, Robert Downey Jr., new movies, new shows, all kinds of... You don't know what's going to be announced. Will they bring the X-Men out? You got to be in the room for that, right?
Let me ask you that. And one, I want to give you props for stepping out of that room to be able to chat with us. So props to you for that. They just released the Avengers Doomsday trailer earlier this week. So what could they potentially be showing that's worthy of a Hall H panel? Because you can't just show up with nothing.
Oh, brother, they're gonna have some announcements. Maybe a new movie or two. They're gonna have some casting. Maybe some familiar faces from who played superheroes before that you know and love might be on the stage that you don't know are in movies coming up. Things like that. And that trailer, I was honestly surprised they released it a week before Comic-Con. But that is just a sign that they have more to show, because one thing Marvel has never done in Hall H is disappoint people. So I have no doubt they're going to bring the house down with loads of actors and big-time celebrities and your favorite superheroes on stage tomorrow, and some new movie announcements, and maybe cast of the X-Men, new X-Men.
Well, listen, short of being there in Hall H, which I know you have to get back inside, the next best thing is being friends with you and being able to get those text updates, which I can. And then the next best thing beyond that is following you on social media, following your show, because that's the best way you're going to be able to get a lot of this pop culture, the Marvel news coming out of Hall H. Where can people follow you and find more information, my friend?
Well, man, thank you so much. They can follow me. It's Brandon Davis BD on all the social channels. And if you go on YouTube, you type in the Brandon Davis Show or Brandon Davis BD, you'll find it. You can follow me there, every major podcast platform. But wait, Jake, you talk about following me. As long as they're not showing footage in there right now, you can follow me into Hall H real quick if you want to see what it's like.
Let's go. Do not get thrown out of Comic-Con on behalf of our show. But yeah, if you want to take us in, let's go.
Let's go take a look inside. As long as there's no footage on the screen, I hope my cell phone service holds tight. If I lose you, I'll say thank you for having me. But let's go take a look inside and show what we can get a live feed real quick into this Lanterns panel.
Let's do
which
it.
I think will be pretty cool, because it's pretty hard to get in here.
Hall H, again, to emphasize for people at home, Hall H is where it's happening at Comic-Con. And it may have frozen. Famous last words. Something's happening. Oh, look, there's a panel going on. That is the Lanterns panel happening live at Comic-Con right now. Again, Brandon Davis has taken us inside Hall H, which San Diego Comic-Con, Hall H, if it's a big title, if it's a movie or a TV show or a celebrity that a massive amount of people, we're talking thousands upon thousands of people want to come out and see, that is where it's going to be taking place. So when he says that the Lanterns panel is happening right now, that is the cast of the new Green Lantern show. Probably Kyle Chandler on screen right now. You can see in the distance. You can see how big that first screen was, just sort of for the people in the back. You can see them all the way along in the distance. Brandon's kind of giving us a POV inside of Hall H at Comic-Con. That is incredibly cool to be able to get that perspective. Normally, you got to pay a lot of money and wait in very long lines to get in there. But Brandon Davis taking us inside. We're going to let him go and get back to it. Again, you can follow Brandon Davis online. Check out his show, The Brandon Davis Show. He is taking you inside all things pop culture, including Hall H, the place where you want to be at Comic-Con this year. Brandon, very cool. Very well done. Thank you, brother. We appreciate you. All right, guys. Do we got to go to break, or can we go on to our next guest? All right, we're going to go to our next guest. This is going to be very cool. We are going to talk with Keisha Walker, the founder and chairwoman of BCGA Foundation, because they are bringing together students and women professional sports leaders for gaming, career exploration, and a Game Changer Awards. A lot happening this weekend because of that right here in the city of Chicago. Keisha, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate you.
Super excited. I was trying to get to the next event. We are just leaving the Illinois Institute of Technology for our Women Got Game event here during WNBA All-Star Weekend. We had 75 young women in high school and college who came and were invited out to join us to learn more about opportunities in gaming and technology through their love of and especially technology through their love of esports. Amazing group. We had 2 panels with executives from the biggest names in sports here, the Chicago Fire. We also had our moderator from the LA Sparks. We had the Chicago Bears representation. We were supposed to have the Blackhawks today, but they got an amazing announcement with one of the OGs of the Blackhawks coming back to Chicago. So unfortunately, they weren't able to participate today due to that, with all the announcements and press conferences going on. But we were super excited. Now we're on to part 2, and we're getting ready to honor 5 more amazing women in technology, corporate, and sports here in the greater Chicago area, and also in public service. And so we're headed now to the XOCO Gallery in West Chicago for part 2 invitational event called Game Changers. And this is our 3rd year doing this around the WNBA All-Star Weekend.
I love that you're in the middle of going from spot 1 to spot 2 and you're still chatting with us. We do have just about 60 seconds left. So before we let you go, we don't want to lose you. Let people know where they can find more information and maybe even get involved this weekend.
Absolutely, please. So they can go to BCGA USA, that's BCGAUSA.org, and also WomenGotGame.org. WomenGotGame.org. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course. No, I just love that, like, this shows how much you are crushing it this weekend, that you're in between events, you're going from one event to the other. Keisha, we appreciate you. Good luck with part 2. We'll see you on the next one.
All right, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. All right, guys, that's it for the Friday edition of Chicago Live. We got a lot into the last 3 hours of this show. Their Fox 32 News at 4 starts in just a couple of minutes. Have a great rest of your week.
From Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
There are 4 neighborhoods across Chicago just lost 7 grocery stores. What's going to fill the void and how soon could it happen?
Cyclospora is sending more Illinoisans to the hospital.